So, I love The Climb. Do you know it's an old song of hers? You know
The country stuff?
Yeah, no, it was The Climb, wasn't it? You know, climbing the mountain and stuff.
Ah,
Did you mind that one? Do you want my observation of you today, no? Or do you want to just park it?
Depends on what you're going to talk about. If it's to do with clothes, go ahead.
It is to do with clothes.
Right,
Everybody
go
will
on.
want to see now your
Go
top.
on, yes.
It's a very sensible daddy top you have today. It's a very sensible one.
Yeah, I don't
Do you know
like
the
like
zippy
that,
thing at the front? Do you know?
But I saw you in one of these before.
No, not one of them there. No, daddy, no, I wouldn't wear that.
Right, so I shouldn't wear it.
No, but it's all right running about the house. But you're on camera, you see. I know.
Well, I
it's
can
radio.
take it off.
No, keep it on because the shirt's
But at
not
least
too
I'm
white
not
on.
dressed like I think I'm 16.
No, but this is an old man's top
No,
too.
it's not.
No, it's a bit dated. This here.
It's not. You look like you're 16 or want to be 16. So you're saying I'm in my dad gear?
Your daddy thing, but don't take off your top because your shirt's not that white underneath it, and they'll show it up. So
No, I do
stick
white
with it.
washes and everything.
Nobody's going to come in now onto Facebook Live and check you out. See what kind of shape of the jumper is
It's
he
not
wearing?
going to be on after the news. I can tell you that for a fact. No, I appreciate your feedback. Actually, I don't
Do you want my
mind
coat?
that.
I have a nice big luminous coat in the back of the van. Do you want it? All right, good luck.
Gooch, get out of here, will you? All right, okay. If that doesn't boost viewership, I don't know what might. Okay. I don't know, it's a cup of coffee. What are you going to do about it? All right, 9 to noon show on the way. But let's get a news update and cross over to Studio 2, where we have Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Director General of RTE will tell an Oireachtas committee the non-disclosure of payments has created one of the most shameful and damaging episodes in the organisation's history. Kevin Backhurst will also say fees for top presenters are too high and there needs to be a greater transparency, honesty and integrity at the state broadcaster. His appearance before the Public Accounts Committee comes after interim Grant Thornton report shows pay to RTE's top 10 presenters since 2010 was correctly stated. That is with the exception of Ryan Tubridy from 2017 onwards. Committee member and Fine Gael TD Alan Dillon says despite all of the hearings with multiple officials in recent weeks, there's still one person they want to hear from, and that's Dee Forbes.
With all the internal reviews and the forensics auditors now in place, we hope in time that when Miss Forbes does get well, that she will present herself. She is a crucial witness to this financial scandal that has rocked RTE, and certainly she and her evidence will go a long way in rebuilding trust in our national broadcaster.
Donegal County Council is to write to the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh to explore whether they can embark on a joint initiative to bring the cost of the ferry services between Belfast and Carrion-Ryan and Larne and Stranraer down. The issue was raised at Glenties Municipal District this week by Councillor Michael Colin McGilla-Asbog, who said he's been told by many people that the cost of travel has grown so much, people are cancelling plans to bring their car from Donegal to Scotland and vice versa. Some years ago, Councillor McGilla-Asbog contacted the First Minister's office at Holyrood to raise the issue, but was told there can be no political interference with what are private services. However, that's an approach he doesn't accept.
There's nothing new here for the state to intervene when companies are showing their pure greed in terms of the cost that they're charging people. So, yes, there is a space for politics. There always has to be space for politics, and the private market just cannot be allowed to run away with itself, which it continuously does. So I'm hoping that a small engagement from us and that it becomes an issue. Again, nothing ever is an issue or priority until you make it.
Donegal Mountain Rescue were part of a multi-agency operation in Sligo in an effort to locate missing 22-year-old David Slanina. In a statement, they say it was a massive operation in which they left with heavy hearts. David went missing on Saturday last. Gardaí say following the location of a body, the search had been stood down. The DMRT have offered their sincerest condolences to the young man's family. Weather-wise, today will bring a mix of cloud and sunny spells with occasional showers, becoming cloudier during the afternoon with some rain this evening. Light southwest winds with highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back again with the next news update at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
It's the summer of savings at SuperValue. Enjoy great offers like Kellogg's Rice Krispies 660 gram, Special K 750 gram and Crunchy Nut 720 gram, only €3. Selected coffee pods like Lore 20 pack, Tassimo 16 pack, any 3 for €12. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. It is just turning 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 13th of July 2023. How are you all keeping? Thanks to Lee for a interesting, entertaining 2.5 hours. He's back with you tomorrow morning at 6:30, of course. We're here for you for the next 3 hours. Loads lined up for you. We want you involved in the chats, in the conversations, expressing your opinions, passing on your stories. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number, 0035386 60 25,000 if you're listening outside the Republic. If you want to give us a call, Caroline and Neve, taking your calls this morning, 074 91 25,000. That's 074 91 25,000. And emails into us from comments at highlandradio.com. Tyrconnell Tribune this morning. A total of, the Milford Town First draft plan published this week has a staggering 32 locations identified for remedial attention, with 11 of these described as key projects. A total of 4 are described as high priority or higher priority, with a price tag of €3 million for each one. Councillor Liam Blaney welcomed the development, saying that he's happy that his proposal for the regeneration of the town had been processed so quickly by the council. Nevertheless, he said that many changes would be needed before the draft is finally published as a plan. He hoped that all 4 higher priority level plans can all be progressed at the same time. However, the Loch Road Junction and the regeneration of the hotel site is the most urgent one. I would hope the council can now proceed with urgency to get the Part 8 planning process before the end of this year. Until that is complete, funding cannot be sourced, he added. More, of course, on the front of and inside the paper. The Donegal Democrat tells us that the Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, says the effectiveness of a 3-county model for policing will be analysed before a firm decision is made on the future of the Donegal Garda Division. Under proposals for a new operation model, the Donegal Division will be amalgamated with the Sligo and Leitrim divisions. A similar amalgamation has already been rolled out in Mayo, Roscommon and Longford. This venture is now being assessed by senior officials in a bid to determine the next steps for the force in the northwest amid growing concerns over its direction. Minister McEntee has said that the new model seeks to release frontline Gardaí from roles that can be effectively carried out by civilian Garda staff. The Donegal News. First steps on long road to recovery. A rally enthusiast from Ramalton who was seriously injured in a motorbike accident 1 year ago is working towards getting back in the driver's seat. Brendan Friel was critically injured when his motorbike collided with a car on the main Ramalton to Letterkenny Road last August. And as the first anniversary of the horrific accident approaches, he's offered a heartfelt thanks to all those who've played a part in his recovery. And he's pictured too on the front of the paper as well. The Derry News this morning. What has been branded a controversial housing proposal in an already densely populated area lacking in green spaces is being opposed by a local residents group. High Park Residents Association is also seeking support from local councillors against the development earmarked for the Cregan area of the city on land adjacent to the popular Terman Bacca Retreat Centre and High Road. Speaking to Derry News, a spokesperson for the association said it had organised a petition opposing the proposed development following a community consultation event held by the planning consultants acting on behalf of the developer. If you want to have a comment on that too and raise the issue here, 00353 8660 25,000 is your WhatsApp or text number. The controversy facing the BBC has moved on significantly since it was last referenced on the show yesterday. Hugh Edwards, who is synonymous with BBC coverage, whether it's a Queen passing a king being crowned, or whatever it might be, or if there's a major tragedy, Hugh Edwards was the face of BBC News, the highest paid journalist there. Well, he's now been named as the BBC presenter facing allegations over payments for sexually explicit images, as the Metropolitan Police said they had found no evidence of any criminal offence. The decision to name Edwards by his wife Vicky Vicky Flind, last night brings to an end days of speculation over the identity of the presenter at the centre of a media storm over its alleged relationship with a series of young people. In a statement on his behalf, now it's clear to say, in terms of them, the way it's phrased here, over his alleged relationships with a series of young people, there's no real details on that other than there was no crime committed whilst they were younger than he, and you may or may not agree whether that's right or wrong. And clearly, obviously, he's married because his wife has issued a statement on his behalf. The police have found that there was no illegality, no wrongdoing. Well, in a statement on his behalf, Miss Flind said Mr. Edwards was suffering from serious mental health issues and was receiving inpatient hospital care. She added that he would respond to the stories when he was well enough to do so, but that might not be for some time. And she also referenced the fact that he has had well-documented, long-standing issues with his mental health. And he's the latest presenter or personality or someone in the public eye who is not... I wouldn't say, and I'm purposely choosing my words correctly because I don't want it to sound like I'm saying something that I'm not, but it seems that more often than not now, if there is an indiscretion or if there is a controversy, that mental health, be it in Ireland or in Britain or wherever it might be, is cited as a potential reason, or at least then why someone might not be able to answer questions. And I get that, and that's understandable. How that would be determined depends on the person, though. Is it like, that it would upset me so greatly to respond to some questions, not on this issue, but on others, that might damage my mental health and therefore I'm not available for it. And also, there are some that might feel it might do, there's lots of people that suffer with their mental health that never do anything wrong or anything like this. And I just wonder if there's any views out there in relation to that. 08660 25,000. Well, the Welsh journalist who has been the lead presenter of the flagship News at 10 evening programme for 2 decades is the broadcaster's best paid news reader, earning more than £430,000 last year, which actually is not far off what a lot of presenters here are getting paid. He's broadcasting to over 100 million people. Anyway, RTE's head of sport has said GEA matches for the controversial streaming service GEA Go were absolutely not cherry-picked. This is The Independent. Declan Bennett told the Oireachtas Media Committee there is no conflict of interest between the GEA and RTE in relation to GEA Go. He told TDs and senators that RTE is contractually obliged to show 31 games for Liam and Sam, the All-Ireland Hurling and Football Championships. He said he does not accept that the GEA and RTE are complicit in putting games behind a paywall. When registering for GEA Go, users are asked which county they support. Mr. Bennett said categorically, unequivocally, the data is not used to decide which matches are shown. That being said, there was one big game, arguably the best game of the championship in hurling at least, which was supposed to be on RTE and then was switched to GEA Go. But they've made about 4 million, right, which is pittance, really, isn't it, in the wider scale of both RTE and GEA organisations. And further to that, some games have 1,500 people watching them. Can you imagine 1,500 people? The top game had 120,000 people watching it. That's on GEA Go. But if that game were on RTE, you can triple or quadruple that figure. And you can, the 1,500 viewership game, you could probably put that up in the hundreds of thousands because people will just switch it on to watch a game. They don't want to pay 12 quid for something they're not interested in. But if it's on the telly, they'll watch it. I just don't understand that. And I still don't get why 2 of the football quarterfinals were behind a paywall as well. I don't know. I don't think that's going to change. The GEA don't really seem to buckle too much. But I thought it was quite interesting yesterday. I've never spent so much time watching Oireachtas committees, but I feel it's important that I do for a programme like this. You have to excuse me, I don't know who it was on behalf of the GEA commented about the controversy about cash. It comes up on this show all the time about people not being able to pay for tickets at the turnstiles. Well, apparently, this is what was said, that the GAA had told counties that they can take a bit of cash if they want to, if someone turns up, not to turn people away, which I didn't know. Did you know that? Have you ever had success in this regard? So apparently, on a case-by-case basis, very ad hoc, strange way of doing it, but the GEA did say to counties, you can take some cash at the turnstiles, but send it back to us. And last year they sent back 15 grand, I think, 15,000. Now, they use that as an argument as, well, there's not that much demand for people turning up with cash. But did you know that you potentially could turn up with cash? Because that's what was said yesterday, that the counties were informed that they can take a bit of cash. And this was actually in the league games, just to be absolutely clear. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the situation was as it relates to the championship. It wasn't referenced, and I can't draw a conclusion from that. But from all the league games last year, 15 grand was returned to the GEA that was taken as cash. But again, did anyone out there know that this direction had gone out to counties that you could pay? Although it was a wee bit murky as to how you could or what the scenario might be, but you could pay into a game with cash. Anyway, I just found that part of it a little bit interesting. The Mail tells us that controversial nature restoration laws were passed in the European Parliament yesterday, but farmers warned they retain real and genuine concerns over the proposals. The EU's flagship environmental laws survived a bid by centre-right politicians to kill the bill, passing with 336 votes in favour, 300 against, 13 abstentions. The final text will now be negotiated by MEPs and member states, aiming for a deal to be struck before the end of next year. So it's past the most recent hurdle, but there's still seemingly quite a way to go. The Farmers Journal, their top story today, the agriculture sector can meet its 25% carbon emissions reduction targets by 2030 if there's a massive take-up of key measures in order to slash emissions. Teagasc has predicted its modelling of current livestock trends would set a 29% drop in suckler numbers and an 8% increase in the dairy herd by 2030. Under the scenario, an ambitious uptake of measures outlined in Teagasc's new marginal abatement cost curve, such as reducing the finishing age of cattle by 3 months and increasing use of protected area, would be required to meet the target. On to the red top tabloids now. And nearly 100,000 people in suicidal distress reached out last year to Pieta. This is in the Irish Daily Star. Of that 100,000, the majority were female. Pieta's annual report detailed the counselling provided across the country to people with suicidal thoughts, those who self-harmed or were bereaved by suicide. A spokesperson for Pieta's 2022 annual report, Pieta in Your Community, which was published yesterday, said Pieta's helpline received over 99,000 calls and texts last year. Some 63% were female. Pieta delivered over 51,300 therapy hours free of charge to almost 6,900 clients in 2022, and some 670 families were supported by Pieta's suicide bereavement counsellors. Is the headline statistics from the 2022 annual report there from Pieta. The Irish Sun this morning, only 27 rooms out of 3,000 at the National Children's Hospital have been finished, and the cost of building it could balloon to nearly 2.2 billion. Now, the overall figure is something perhaps I should take more interested in, but personally, not the programme, not the station, but me, I don't know how much it costs to build a massive state-of-the-art hospital. I don't know what's cheap and what's expensive. I know people build houses for 30 million. I don't know what's in, but I don't know, is 2.2 billion. It is more than we thought it was going to be. But how much does a massive hospital cost to build in this country now? We did look at this before, and we saw state-of-the-art hospitals built in Dubai, I think it was, or the UAE. There was someone who worked on them that joined us on the show, and they were built for like less than $1 billion. But I don't know how things have changed with inflation and all that type of stuff. But I think the key figure here is there's 3,000 rooms. Only 27 of them have been finished. That's terrible, isn't it? Well, the shocking details emerged at the Oireachtas Health Committee yesterday. The hearing was told that under 1% of the rooms expected to be completed by now at the Dublin site have been finished. Not great. And finally, a story here that police are investigating the burning of a car at the home of an Ain2 representative as a sectarian hate crime. The incident happened in the early hours of Wednesday in Newry, County Down, following July 11th Loyalist bonfires across the north and on the eve of Orange Order marches. Sharon Loughran said she awoke at 3 a.m. to find her car was on fire, describing it as a terrifying situation. The paediatric nurse added, just after 3 a.m, awoke to the smell and sound of an inferno beside my house. I looked out of the window to see my car parked in my driveway consumed by flames. The heat was so much that the fascias, pipes, electric and windows to my house have all been damaged by melting. The arsonist that set this fire could have killed me. This could happen anyone in 2023 is incredible, she said. Right, okay. That was a run through some of the stories making the front of and inside the newspapers. We're going to be joined after the break by Roy Greenslade. He's a former professor of journalism and editor of the Daily Mirror. And just to get his views on, well, not only what has been happening in terms of the controversy at the BBC in Britain, but really, I suppose, how it's been reported and where we're going in that regard. We'll get his views after these. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Irish Field Dublin Horse Show magazine is out now. We talked to show jumper Shane Sweetenham and breeder Shane Connolly about the superstar Irish sport horse James Can Cruise. Keane O'Connor gives his view on the current state of the sport. Irish team vet Marcus Swale relives last year's Aga Khan victory, and we go behind the scenes at McKeed Barracks' Army Equitation School. Plus, we hear from US Olympic legend McLean Ward. The Dublin Horse Show magazine is in shops now and available to order online at theirishfield.ie.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365, on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
23 minutes past 9. The BBC is to renew an internal investigation into Hugh Edwards after his wife revealed that he's the unnamed presenter accused of paying a teenager for explicit images. Police say they found no evidence of criminality, though. On yesterday's Newsnight, 2 BBC employees claimed they've received inappropriate messages from the now suspended host. Now, we have some expert insight into this now by Roy Greenslade, who's a former professor of journalism and editor of the Daily Mirror. Roy, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Morning.
See, this is a difficult story to talk about because we can talk about the decision the Sun made to publish this story when it did at that time, or we can talk about it now when we have so much more information. I mean, what way would you prefer to come at this? Firstly, I suppose, in publishing this story as they did, was this a public interest story or just interesting to the public, do you think, from an editorial perspective?
Well, now, the Sun, I think, are in the box here on this. I think, look, this is the situation. If no criminality was involved, then there's no overriding public interest. So it becomes interesting to the public. Now, in its first story, the Sun hinted quite clearly that there was criminality involved. They backed away from that afterwards, and I think that's where their problem lies. They sort of doubled down on that in succeeding days by making other accusations, but I think they're now in the firing line over this matter because they have incited the public, as it were, on social media to speculate. And there's a former Sun editor, David Yelland, who today has been hugely critical of his former paper over this matter. And there have been plenty of other media commentators who've taken the same line. So although the BBC have questions to answer, we can go into that. I think it's the Sun which really need a proper investigation. For instance, where was the evidence? They've not produced any evidence as yet that that this young man had done something with Hugh Edwards, which was illegal. We now know the police don't believe that happened. And there appears to be, they've intruded, as it were, into a family split here between a mother and a stepfather on one side and this boy who is now 20 years old on the other. And they appear to have done that in an irresponsible fashion and at the same time made allegations and started a sort of hair running so that it was natural that people would start to speculate. And so in that sense, I think the newspaper really have many questions to answer.
And as well, too, a very important element of this is that they were contacted on Friday by the young person who stated that nothing untoward had happened, nothing criminal had happened. So they had knowledge, but they still decided to run with the angle from the person's mother and stepfather, which is really quite remarkable altogether.
It is extraordinary. I mean, the boy, I keep calling him that, but the man got his lawyer to say that it was, and he used that phrase, rubbish. And yet the Sun continued, and today they are still sticking by their story and its value to society. But I can't see, and I think most other people can't see, that that's the case. What they've done really is led a hue and cry. No pun intended in this sense, Hugh Edwards, but they've led a hue and cry against this man for doing something which, by the way, may involve misconduct. We don't know. And that's the other thing, Greg. The most important thing is we are so deficient on facts in this story. Right from the beginning, when you get anonymous allegations made without any evidence or proof to be shown, you are in a very mucky territory in journalistic terms.
And the newspaper industry has changed too, hasn't it, Roy? Which might have influenced whether or not they named the person in the first instance or not. I mean, going back a number of years ago, they probably could have sold 3, 4, 5, 6 million euro, 6 million copies off the back of this story, and made that editorial to do so now. But now they rely much more so, do they not, on adverts, and now, you know, advertisers will look at this type of publicity and wonder, do we want our adverts in that paper or on their online platform? You know, as I say, I think the way papers are funded is much more different now, and maybe that's why they chose in the first instance not to actually run with Hugh Edwards' identity.
No, I think the reason they didn't run is because of the threat of libel law, defamation. 20 years ago, I would say they would have used the name. They would have taken that risk, but we've seen a great tightening up, both the privacy law and defamation law ever since. If you cast your mind back to the BBC's ill treatment of Sir Cliff Richard, that definitely was a watershed moment in which you could see that the privacy law would kick in much more. We'd be more careful than ever before. So I think the former Sun editor from 20 years ago is on the record as saying that in the old days he would have published the name. But so they were, in that sense, careful. But funnily enough, although this was anonymous, it achieved, in a sense, what the Sun wanted it to do in the first place. Let me take up your second point about how papers are funded. If you go back to the days of phone hacking, what brought down the News of the World and led to its closure was a revolt by advertisers. But I think in this case, there's no sign of a revolt over this matter. So I don't think that will affect the Sun's funding. Okay. I think you're right. Things are very different. Printed newspapers are hardly bought at all, but there's still massive online interest, even at the Sun, which has, I think, the second largest audience in Britain in terms of online.
The BBC, they have released a timeline of what they knew when they knew it. And then we also have Hugh Edwards' timeline now, where the first he heard about this was last Thursday. What's your observations on the BBC's handling of all of this?
Well, I think the BBC's initial mistake was not taking up the complaint seriously at the beginning. I'm a bit sympathetic, though. They get hundreds of complaints every day. How do you weed out which is the really serious one? They did evidently try to make contact with the complainant afterwards, but didn't make, to use their phrase, didn't make a connection. I understand they failed to leave a voicemail, which seems to me to be a terrible oversight. So I think the BBC need to investigate why they didn't deal with the complaint properly in the first place. That, as far as I can see, that's their only major error in this matter.
And just in relation to Hugh Edwards' return, if he becomes well enough to do so, and that's his wish, how can that happen in this day and age for someone who's so highly paid and in such a high position? You know, even if nothing criminal happened, there perhaps is enough there now to chip away, you know, maybe the status or the reputation or the profile, the holier than thou almost, to be able to I can't see a pathway for him getting back to his former position, because some mud sticks, and I don't know, maybe you can.
No, look, what matters, Hugh Edwards is an extraordinary anchor on major news events. He covered the coronation, he covered the death of the Queen, he's covered every major sort of royal event, major news stories. And what counts, whether a news anchor, is trust and credibility. And I'm afraid that it's going to be hard for him to win that back. In fact, I don't think he will be able to win it back. So I don't think it's possible that we'll see Hugh Edwards in that role. If indeed he has a job in the future, I don't think he'll be in that role. He's 62 years old now.
Yeah.
He's had a very long run at the BBC, but there are many, many people who could step into his shoes. And so I just don't think the BBC would ever risk giving him that kind of job. National treasure at one point, he's now really, I think, past news.
And this might sound like a bizarre question, but it's I'm curious about it, and I'm very curious in your views on it, Roy. You know, in 10, 15 years' time, where they're going back into the archives to cover how they covered these types of stories, do you think his reputation is so damaged that they might try and avoid his inclusion in that?
Well, of course, famously, the BBC avoid any mention or any clips of somebody called Jimmy Savile. So they've certainly censored themselves over that. So it's possible, but I would have thought in his case, it's very different.
Yeah,
Savile was a different kind of case. I wouldn't have thought they would have edited him out of the highlights from the past. I just don't think that's possible.
To say, it was just a curiosity I had, and I was interested in your views.
I mean, look, they showed clips last night of him announcing the death of the Queen. That's in the archives, will be there forever, and I don't think that they'll be worried about using it in the future. Okay,
I shan't keep you much longer, but I must ask you about our own problems here with the with the national
Mr.
broadcaster.
Tubridy. Yeah.
Mr. Tubridy. It's a different thing because, you know, you could say that in Britain it's the Hugh Edwards scandal and not necessarily the BBC scandal as such, though there is questions over its handling. And over here, the way it's being framed is it's the RTE scandal and not the Ryan Tubridy scandal. But the same questions remain in that some mud sticks and reputations get damaged. Can you see a way back into the nation's hearts, and more importantly, maybe his colleagues' hearts, to see Ryan Tubridy return to the airwaves on RTE?
Well, going on what I've seen, I would say that the nation is split on Tubridy. So there are those who believe him and those who don't. And I think that's a real problem for him returning to the roles he's had previously. I would imagine, I mean, we're deficient on facts in certain ways, and it'll be so incredibly interesting to see what RTE have to say about his evidence and that of his agent. But I would have thought that the split is quite clearly there. On the other hand, think about this, Greg. He has been really very harsh on RTE. He blames everything on them. I'm innocent and so on. But that RTE that he was criticising is no longer there because Backhurst has come in, the new DG, and got rid of everyone. So there's a sort of new RTE. There's a sort of post-Tubridy RTE. So maybe maybe Backhurst will feel, I tell you what, he's valuable enough for us to keep him, even if we don't give him the leading roles we gave him in the past. So I don't think it's necessarily all over for him.
And can I flip that a little bit, though? Because as Backhurst tries to change the culture within RTE, and that's really, really important that is seen to be done, whether it's fair or not, Ryan Tubridy may always be seen as the poster boy for that old culture. And I just wonder, in that context, can he fit into what needs to be a new RTE, even if he's very popular and excellent and what have you?
Yeah, and I think, we haven't mentioned the major problem here, which is that he allowed people to think that he was earning less than he was earning. And that was published and on the record everywhere, that his salary, and of course it wasn't quite his salary. And I think he can't overcome that. And I think that's a problem. For those like me who believe that he did, must have known and should have known what he was earning. I mean, it's extraordinary. I think you know what you're earning, unless you're getting payments from Renault. We don't know about, Greg, but I would have...
I've got no extra payments, but I almost feel like saying, hey, here's my email address, but no, I shan't know. But I take your point.
I think the larger point here is not about Tubridy. It's about the funding of public service broadcasting here. And that is that messing it up with commercial deals, side deals, like the Renault matter. Yeah. Really, we should think much more about, should RTE be funded currently in this mixed fashion between commerce and a licence fee?
And very finally, Roy, what has really jumped out at me today is that Hugh Edwards, on £500,000, albeit, broadcasting to a potential audience of over 100 million, and we've got individuals in this country with a population of Manchester to broadcast into, 5 or 6 million, and they're on €500,000. It's wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
I know. I think it's extraordinary. And I kept saying to myself, and I know a lot of people have said this, why did they feel it so necessary to pay him so much? Where was he going to go? There's no big competition for Ryan Tubridy's hand. So I think they have overpaid, and I'm astonished at the earnings of RTE.
And they're doing it again with his replacement on the Late Late Show, Patrick Kielty. They bidded themselves. They valued his services $250,000. But Patrick Kielty presented a couple of episodes of The One Show 10 years ago. I have a lot of respect and admiration for him. His last TV appearance that I saw was on Celebrity Catchphrase. Where does the €250 price tag, 100,000, 250, where does that come from? RTE struck that or set that because it's not in the market here. There's no comparison other than what they were. So in other words, they're saying they need to change this culture of bidding against themselves, yet they're doing it live still right before our eyes, finally, Roy.
Well, of course, they did that before this great scandal broke. I would think they'd be revising that now. Patrick probably saying to himself, I got under the wire here. I'm rather lucky.
What about me and you co-hosting it? We'll do it for 80 grand. You're all right for money. I could just take the most of the 80 grand. How's that, Roy?
Yeah, well, that would be fine because I'd do it totally for free.
Yeah, all right. I'll take the rest. Have a lovely day. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Thanks so much. That's Roy Greenslade, former professor of journalism and editor of the Daily Mirror, and has been commenting quite widely on that story right across the British media as well. So it's great to have him back on this programme. Greg, it's the nature of media that how little time we spent dissecting the Children's Hospital compared to Tubridy and Hugh Edwards. Thanks indeed. But you see, I think it's getting our heads around it. There's very important committee meetings today, or there should be very important committee meetings today taking place discussing defective concrete blocks. And there's no coverage of it whatsoever. I mean, we'll try and do something after the fact here, but we don't have a news channel to stream it out or what have you. But that's 3.8 At least 3 billion of taxpayers' money. And there's not a word about these committee meetings that are taking place today to discuss defective blocks. Yet we've had wall-to-wall coverage, of which we've been part of, because there's a great deal of interest out there, about the movements of €345,000, which is still significant and it's important and it's in the public interest to discuss it. But we've got a €3 billion controversial scheme up for discussion today in the Oireachtas committee rooms, and not a pip. So it's not just the Children's Hospital and our scrutiny of that. That being said, on this programme, and it wasn't just me, I think Sean used to discuss it too, there was an awful lot of people upset about the plans, the sites, the location of the Children's Hospital. There was strong objections that saying this is the wrong kind of development in the wrong place. It should be elsewhere. It should be made differently. We don't need all the bells and whistles. We just need this facility, and so on and so forth. And that was covered extensively on this programme and others, I'm quite sure, and yet on it progressed where it's at. OK, back with more shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio, in association with Arena 7, where you can enjoy dinner and drinks in the Woodbury Grill Bar and Restaurant before bowling in Arena 7's state-of-the-art lanes. See arena7.ie.
We're having an open event at SEAT. A chance to open our doors and open your minds to the possibilities of our SUV range. With the spacious 7-seater Tarraco, the bold and beautiful Ateca, and the sharply styled Arona, we have something for anyone open to trying something new. And in addition to our incredible July offers, you'll get a free 3-year service plan when you order during our open event. So join us from July 10th to the 17th and we'll greet you open-armed to the SEAT Open event.
Your local SEAT dealer is DMG Motors, Clogh Road, Donegal Town.
Agriculture can meet climate targets by 2030. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out how farmers can slash emissions by following new Teagasc Roadmap. €500 a week proposal for retiring farmers. Rewetting dropped in latest nature restoration law twist. Over 1 million straw bales to be chopped this year. Uproar over Board B access to farmers' animal medicine data. And calls for €300 per hectare designated land payment.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Entries are now being taken for the Clonmany Agricultural Show. Competitions in sheep, cattle, pony and horse, poultry, home industry, sheep shearing and show jumping. Entries close the 22nd of July. You can enter online at clonmanyshow.com or by entry form to the secretary. Email clonmanyagrishow@gmail.com. The 2-day Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 8th and 9th of August. Packed full of events for all the family.
OK, so we read yesterday that a new Leaving Cert sex education curriculum will normalise lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and other LGBTQ plus identities, relationships and families, rather than marginalising them in stand-alone lessons. The government's curriculum advisors say the approach to be taken with students will be inclusive, underpinned by the principles of equality, human rights and responsibilities. And in fairness, after we covered that article yesterday, we were contacted by one parent who was backed up by others who said, look, I've raised my children as Christians. I don't want them compelled to go in through the Leaving Cert cycle and hear about these things. But everyone's got different views. But let's find out exactly, how this is formulated and what's in there as much as we can. Annette Honan is National Council for Curriculum and Assessment Education Officer. Good morning, Annette. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Lovely to be with you. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Annette, and I hope you are too. Right, OK, so this new draft sex education curriculum for the senior cycle is being published. How is something like this formulated, Annette? Who has input into it?
Okay, Greg. Well, can I first just, you've referred to a new sex ed programme. So just for clarity for your listeners, to be aware that it's not actually a sex ed programme. It's a programme in social, personal and health education, of which within that an aspect is relationships and sexuality education. But just to be clear that it's a very broad curriculum. It includes education around all aspects of health, including emotional and mental health, which is really important. I was listening to your programme earlier and you referred to the Pieta House report that's just come out, and 100,000 calls came in last year to that line alone. So we have a huge concern around youth mental health at the moment. I would hazard a guess that the majority of those calls were either from young people or parents of young people who are concerned about their mental health. So this is just an example of one aspect of the curriculum that's really important. Now, in saying that, obviously there has been some attention to the aspects of the curriculum that relate to relationships and sexuality. And I'm quite happy to talk about that too. But I wouldn't want parents to think that that's all that this is about. There's so many other aspects. There's also a really important aspect to the new curriculum that I think parents in particular will be interested in hearing about. And that's the aspect that deals with preparing young people as they transition into adulthood. Because we're very conscious when we went out to have a huge consultation in recent times around senior cycle education, parents in particular said that they felt that the whole area of life skills is not being properly addressed within senior cycle. And young people are going out into whether it's college or the workplace or further education, and they don't have the skills they need sometimes to be able to manage themselves and to be able to manage all of the different challenges that they face. So within this updated curriculum for senior cycle, there's a strand that's called Into Adulthood, and it looks particularly at helping young people to develop and establish good habits so that they can self-manage themselves, their emotions, take care of themselves, that they know how to exercise their rights and responsibilities, including being able to show care for and respect the responsibilities of others. And
it's a reminder, isn't it?
It's a huge curriculum, Greg, and I just
exactly. I'm happy. I'm happy for it to be a broad conversation, Annette, because that's why we invited you on so that we have a better understanding. Because what happens is we can get very reactive to certain elements. Not even if you're very pro them or very against them, rather than looking at it in the round. And a lot of this talks about if you're in a relationship, be it a friendship or a relationship, what is right, what's wrong, what's acceptable, how you, not only how you treat someone, but how you can expect it to be treated. Not everyone has that information.
Absolutely. And all of the work we're doing is grounded in consultations. Since 2018, we've been out. I've been up and down the country, including in Donegal, meeting with teachers and students and parents there too. And this is one of the key aspects. We say, what's the really important things young people need to learn in this area? They say we need to learn how to create and maintain healthy relationships, be able to recognise what a healthy relationship looks like, be able to have the skills to know how to respect boundaries, how to communicate feelings, how to manage conflict, all of those important things.
Okay, and before we get into that then, so I want to put to you what some people say, and I suspect to know the answer, but I want to hear it. But parents will go, well, that's our job. I want to do that. I don't want that to be talked about in the school. I will do that with my child. Now, the point I tried to make yesterday, and I'm not for or against this, by the way, I'm just sort of trying to chair it, but I says, look, not every parent's comfortable with doing that or does do it. And that's why, not every parent can teach their child geography, and that's why we have geography classes. And it's the same with other areas of development and growth. So then what is the logic in teaching these things in schools and not leaving it up to parents and guardians and caregivers to do it?
Great question, Greg. It's an important one because it's important to say we're not in any way usurping the role of parents. This is a complementary role we have. We're partners in education with parents, and all of the research shows that a number of things. One is that as young people grow, and in primary school, we all know, I suppose, even as parents, it's much easier to talk to our children. They're much more receptive and open to talking to us about things. As they grow older, they become less receptive to having these conversations with their parents. And even with the best relationship in the world, parents experience this. So that's one factor to take into account. The other is the fact that the research also shows that where schools are doing good relationships and sexuality education, instead of closing down conversations with parents, it actually opens them up, because students are more inclined then to go home and have a chat with the parent and say, oh, today in classroom we were talking about this or that. And parents also have an opportunity then, because good practice is that schools will inform parents that this is happening in their school, and they will know, and they'll be able to say, oh, I know that you've been learning about this in school today. What did you learn? Can we have a chat about that? So it's actually opening conversations at home. It's not closing them down, and it's certainly not usurping the role of parents.
What I would love to see, if it's not already there though, is like a video on YouTube, anonymised, it doesn't have to be real, but an example of a teacher speaking to students and what they're talking about, particularly, say, for instance, in areas that are highly controversial, not controversial, topics for discussion discussion at the moment, like, for instance, LGBTQ plus identities, relationships and families. Like, I think a lot of commentaries in a vacuum, or people are getting the information third hand. I don't understand why an example of one of these talks is not produced on YouTube or some other platform or on a Department of Education website, so everyone can see precisely what is being talked about and how it's being talked about. And then from there, people can truly form their own opinion as to whether it's okay or not okay. And it's that kind of involvement of the public and parents that removes maybe other parties with their own agendas and really empowers parents to think for themselves and make these decisions.
Great point, Greg. You're absolutely spot on there. And we do understand that when people open up a draft curriculum and they see the learning set out, the first question is, but what will that actually look like in the classroom? What does that translate at? What does that really mean? What are the kinds of conversations that are going to be happening in the classroom where my child is? And we're very conscious and aware of that. So what we're doing is we're developing what we've called SPHE toolkits for teachers. And any parent indeed can access these and look at them as well. If they go to curriculumonline.ie and look at SPHE toolkits, there's a junior cycle one, for example, there now that's been developed for the new junior cycle curriculum. And it's been developed also now for this new senior cycle. And within that, we have these guidance documents which will unpack, in a sense, what's happening, and it kind of takes the hood up underneath the bonnet of the car, and the teacher or anybody can look and say, okay, so if a teacher is teaching about consent, what are the kinds of conversations that will be having in the classroom? What are the key messages? What are the kind of resources that the teacher might be using? And that's all on our toolkits, and we're building that up. Now, your idea of having actual examples of practice and of teachers showing good practice in the classroom is also something we're working on, but that's going to take a little bit more time, because as teachers become confident in working with this curriculum, we hope that they will then allow us to share their practice, to talk to them about what they're doing, possibly even to video some of what they're doing and to be able to share it, because that is really important. The curriculum in itself is just the first step. That sets out the learning, the important learning, but we need to provide more than that. We are aware of that, and that's why the SPHE toolkits are being developed. So we hope that they'll be very helpful, not just for teachers.
So looking down through a lot of the other stuff that we talked about, relationships, about pornography, whether or not you believe that to be a reality or all that kind of stuff, I think the majority of people go, right, okay, that's useful information. But it does come back down to people, not just Christians, there might be other religions as well, who are not comfortable with their children being taught or for LGBTQ plus identities, relationships being normalised. For many people, and within within this community as well, they're not really comfortable with certain elements of that. So why is that included, and how will that be discussed, as much as you can sort of paraphrase it, I suppose?
Yeah, sure. Well, the reality is, within all classrooms, there's huge diversity. There's diversity of sexual identities, there's of sexual orientations, of faith and ethnic diversity, of abilities, and so on. And teachers are all sensitive to that. And what we're saying by including that note that's in the draft specification, and I have to stress, this is a draft, so it's open for consultation, and we're very open to feedback, and there will be changes to this on foot of the consultation, as there always is. But we have a note within the specification that says that the learning should be taught in a way that LGBT plus identities, relationships and families are fully integrated and reflected in the teaching and learning. So what that means is that the teacher is sensitive to the fact that there is a diversity of young people in front of them, and that they teach in a way that doesn't exclude anybody. And just to give you some examples, so for example, if you're talking about romantic relationships, you don't always assume that it's boy meets girls, that you would use other examples, for example, and acknowledge that the world isn't made up of people who are attracted male to female only. That you'd also, in talking about families, be aware of the fact that some of the children in front of you
move past that a little
might
bit?
be coming from families that are different than mommy and daddy.
Yeah, can I move past that, if you don't mind, a little bit, and with respect, but it's just your time as well as anything else. In terms of lesbian, gay relationships, bisexuality, the fact that a child can have two parents, again, I think the majority, understand that. I think it's when we start talking about transgenderism or trans issues, and people identifying and we don't even really know how many genders might actually be included in this. we get into that space, then people start thinking the seed planting, indoctrination, all the words that be used, programming children, that there's not actually a public consensus on transgenderism and identifying as different or no gender. And I think that's where people start being uncomfortable, is this being normalised in the school environment when society really hasn't figured it all out yet.
Absolutely. And we have a guidance on this, and we'd be delighted for people to go and have a look at it on the website. It's in relation to junior cycle and the teaching around this area, because it comes up in learning outcome number 3.6 in the junior cycle updated specification. And just in brief to say to you, what we're saying to teachers there is, number one, they're not experts in this area. It is a very complex area. And in fact, they are well advised not to go into detailed questions around, the medical aspects of transgenderism or anything like that in the classroom. That is not helpful. But what is helpful is for teachers to, as I said before, to open up conversations in a way that at least acknowledges that there are diverse ways that people express and experience their gender. And also to acknowledge that in the teenage years, it is a time when young people are maybe questioning all aspects of their identity, not just their gender identity, and they might or might not question their gender identity. Many don't.
Yes, but that's happened for generations.
Message too for the teacher.
Of course it is, but that's happened for generations. And
exactly.
What parents are afraid of now is that as people go through that confusion and wondering, well, why do I find that person attractive, or why don't I feel like this, is that we are giving them pathways. Do you know what I mean? We're saying, well, and then they go, actually, well, maybe I am trans. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe I could be. Do you know? And that's where parents, I think a lot of parents then have the concerns. Yeah. But Annette, listen, I hope you're happy with it. It was a balanced and useful conversation. Annette, thanks very much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Just in conclusion, to say thank you, Greg, but also to encourage parents and students who might be out there listening,
look at it
or
yourself.
Indeed any interested person to go online, have a look at the draft, and do provide us with your feedback, because it's really important to us, and we take it all and read it all very carefully.
And it's I think, important that individuals look at this themselves and not rely on somebody else's assessment of it. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Annette Holnan there. Okay, back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Le déine táimid ile ag déileáil le costais arda fuinneamh. Tá ahra déanta ag a lán daoine chun an úsáid fuinneamh a leidú. Tá tacaíocht ar fáil má tá tú ag stracailt. Má tá triblód agat de bhilí a íoch, leabhar le de haláthaí a luas féidir. Tá cosantaí agsúla ar fáil de chuisteméirí. Tá cáir ar fáil ó agrachtaí ar nós MABs agus a lón freisin. Chun fáisnéis áil, téigh chuig gov.ie/úsáid níos lú ó rialtas na hÉireann.
Milford Tiles Wood Flooring and Bathware, Milford Retail Park. New wood flooring just arrived. 8 mil AC laminate, $9.99 a square yard. 10 mil, $12.50 a square yard. 12 mil, $14.99 a square yard. Beautiful 8 mil AC4 gloss laminate, $16.99 a square yard. All in stock, fitters available. Milford Tiles Wood Flooring and Bathware, 083 091 0707.
The one you've been waiting for. The McElhinney's summer sale is now on, with up to 40% off across almost all departments and massive savings across your favourite brands. Don't miss out on amazing offers. Shop in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet or online at mcelhinneys.com.
Sarah moved back first and then Stephen moved in beside her. With this new fibre broadband, they can work from home, so they don't need to live in the city. They love being back, of course. And I suppose there's no harm that they've a free babysitter on hand whenever they want it.
National Broadband Ireland is delivering our high-speed fibre broadband network to homes, schools and businesses across Ireland, no matter how remote or rural.
Granny! Oh, yes, dear.
Find out more at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Don't miss the ultimate Lidl Saturday summer clearance sale. Comfy hanging gardens share and 3-burner gas barbecue were $249.99, now $179.99 each. Stay warm with an outdoor gas fire pit was $279.99, now $199.99 while stocks last. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
The Irish Field Dublin Horse Show magazine is out now. We talked to show jumper Shane Sweetenham and breeder Shane Connolly about the superstar Irish sport horse James Can Cruise. Cian O'Connor gives his view on the current state of the sport. Irish team vet Marcus Swale relives last year's Aga Khan victory, and we go behind the scenes at McKee Barracks' Army Equitation School. Plus, we hear from US Olympic legend McLean Ward. The Dublin Horse Show magazine is in shops now and available to order online at theirishfield.ie.
Gavin here from iMotors. Join me on the Nissan Roadshow in Super Value Dunlow the 20th of July, 11am to 8pm. Killybeg Super Value 21st of July, 11am to 8pm. And Kiernan's Ballyshannon 22nd of July, 10am to 5pm. As we will be showcasing our 232 Nissan lineup. Test drive on the day and be in with a chance of winning a €500 Super Value voucher. iMotors, your Nissan dealer for the Northwest.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Joint Committee on Housing, Local Government and Heritage is meeting at the moment in Leinster House to discuss the defective block scheme regulations and a review of IS 465 with stakeholders. The meeting is being split into two sessions. The current session is hearing from the expert group, the Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, Engineers Ireland, the MICA Action Group in Donegal and other campaign organisations. A short time ago, Paul Ford of Engineers Ireland told the committee that issues with insurance are hampering the work of engineers. He also stressed that knowledge of defective blocks continues to evolve and the scheme must have flexibility to respond to that.
Some engineers are of the opinion that IS 465 is currently not fit for purpose as long as it does not consider sulfide oxidation in Donegal defective block work, and the standard should be updated as soon as possible based on available research. Almost 10 years have passed since the defective concrete problem was raised with the Department of the Environment. It's imperative that meaningful research is carried out and brought to conclusion as quickly as possible. The scheme will have to have flexibility to incorporate new findings as they arise. Criteria must be put in place to allow remediated property to be sold and mortgaged, and this will provide certainty to homeowners and to the conveyancing sector.
Inquiries are ongoing in relation to the theft of a bus from Ramelton Road in Letterkenny at the start of the week. The bus was taken at around 1:45 on Monday morning last. It was then driven the whole way to Dublin city centre, reportedly undetected. Gardaí say a technical examination is currently being undertaken on the vehicle. RTE has challenged the evidence of Ryan Tubridy and his agent Noel Kelly about the guarantee given to underwrite commercial revenue from Renault to the presenter. Interim Deputy Director General Adrian Lynch has said RTE doesn't accept an email from the former Chief Financial Officer Breda O'Keefe forms a contractual agreement to underwrite the deal. He went on to say RTE would never again act as an intermediary for a commercial deal with the presenter. New Director General Kevin Backhurst has told the Public Accounts Committee this is one of the most shameful and damaging episodes of the broadcaster's history. Well, Adrian Lynch contested the evidence that was put forward by Ryan Tubridy on Tuesday.
Firstly, regarding the email that was sent by the former CFO of RTE to NK Management on 20th February 2020, RTE does not accept that a contractual commitment was given to underwrite the commercial agreement in this email. Secondly, regarding the proposal to underwrite Mr. Tubridy's payments, RTE again states that the request was known within RTE. However, the commitment to do so was not widely known.
Donegal County Council is to write to the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh to explore whether they can embark on a joint initiative to bring down the cost of ferry services between Belfast and Cairnryan and Larne and Stranraer. The issue was raised at a Glenties Municipal District meeting this week by Councillor Micheál Cullum-Glasbach, who said he's been told by many people that the cost of travel has grown so much they're cancelling plans to bring their car from Donegal to Scotland or vice versa. Some years ago, Councillor McGlasbach contacted the First Minister's office at Holyrood to raise the issue, but was told there can be no political interference in what are private services. However, he says that's an approach he doesn't accept.
There's nothing new here for the state to intervene when companies are showing their pure greed in terms of the cost that they're charging people. So, yes, there is a space for politics. There always has to be space for politics, and the private market just cannot be allowed to run away with itself, which it continuously does. So I'm hoping that a small engagement from us and that it becomes an issue. Again, nothing ever is an issue or priority until you make it.
Donegal Mountain Rescue was part of a multi-agency operation in Sligo in efforts to locate 22-year-old Davis Slanina. In a statement, they say it was a massive operation. They left the hill, they say, with heavy hearts. David went missing on Saturday last. Gardaí have confirmed that following the location of a body, the search has now been stood down. The DMRT have offered their condolences to the young man's family. Used car prices are still almost double what they were before the pandemic. The latest Dundee index shows car price inflation is finally beginning to slow, but prices are still 79% higher than before COVID-19. Electric vehicles and hybrids now account for just over half of new cars registered in Ireland, compared to just 18% in 2020. Economist Dr. Tom Gillespie compiled the report. He says the number of cars available to buy is also increasing.
There was an increase in stock of about 7% in the last quarter. And in the quarter before, it increased again. So it's still an issue with getting cars from the UK. I mean, the share of imports from the UK has dropped down to 28%. And that used to be 93% in 2020. So there's a huge decline in the cars we get in from the UK.
Weather forecast, a mix of cloud and sunny spells today with occasional showers, becoming cloudier this afternoon with some rain possible this evening. Light southwest winds today in highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notices this Thursday morning, July 13th. The death has occurred of Dermot Maguire, Edergole Ardra. Remains will repose at his residence from 11 a.m. today until 10 o'clock tonight. Funeral Mass at 1 p.m. tomorrow in the Church of the Holy Family Ardra, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Cancer Care West, care of any family member, or Derek McCabe, Funeral Directors Ardra. House private from 10 o'clock this evening and on the morning of the funeral.
In drafting, signing or implementation.
The death has occurred in Consett, County Durham, England, of Tracy Alice Griffin, daughter of Kevin and Alice Griffin at Tivik Moy, Ballybuffet, reposing at her parents' home today from 4 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:15 for Requiem Mass at 10 a.m. in the Church of the Mary Immaculate Stranorlar, followed by interment in Drumbo Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust, care of Charles Lynch, Funeral Director, Castlederg. The death has taken place of Pauline McDermott, née Macbeth, 24 Murlock Road, Artygarvan, and formerly of 15 Windy Hill Road, Dunnamana, reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow at 9:20 a.m. for Requiem Mass in the Sacred Heart Church, Derry Road, Strabane at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in St Patrick's Cemetery, Killina, Dunnamana. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred in Glasgow, June 30th, of Daniel John Campbell Glasgow and formerly of Drim, Glen. His remains will be received into St Constantine's Roman Catholic Church, Glasgow, this evening at 6:30 p.m. Requiem Mass tomorrow at 10 o'clock, with burial afterwards at St Conville Cemetery, Barrhead, at 11:30 a.m. The death has occurred of Mary Gillespie, Tully Yarvan, Buncrana, County Donegal. Mary's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral tomorrow, leaving at 10:15 a.m, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Johnny McColgan, 359 Grahamsland, Castlefin. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the Urney Castlefin Parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to the Donegal Hospice or via any family member. Family time from 9:30 this morning. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Eurospar supermarkets are proud to be part of local communities throughout Ireland. We want to say thank you to those who go above and beyond to help the people of their local communities. Nominate your local community charity group or organisation in store today and they could win a share of a €10,000 Eurospar Community Donation Fund. 10 prizes of €1,000 to be won. Eurospar, your super easy supermarket. T's and C's apply.
All right, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. The Joint Committee on Housing, Local Government and Heritage are meeting this morning to discuss the defective block scheme regulations and review of IS 465 with stakeholders. Mike Action Group Chair Lisa Holmes just concluded speaking. I was hoping to bring you some of that if time would permit, but they were only given 6 minutes to make their case, which I think is a remarkably short amount of time. And in fact, as Lisa Holmes was getting to the crux of her presentation, there was an attempt by the chair to cut her off, which I can't understand because she went slightly over 6 minutes. With the amount of waffle that goes on down there, you'd think they'd let her finish. When in fact they did let her finish. And I think the important statement is that still they are applying the pressure on the government or whoever's responsible, whichever government's responsible, to do the right thing. If in doubt, take it out. Presumably a reference to foundations, for an example. The fact that the point was being made, don't want to misquote or misparaphrase, but effectively saying amongst those in attendance at this joint committee to say that this should be a situation whereby the houses are fixed so people never have to worry about this again into the future. So there's no doubt that they can get on with their lives, that their mortgage is on a property that's worth money, that they can get house insurance, and so on and so forth, or borrow against the property or hand it on to somebody else when that is appropriate and it to have its value. So all those points being made again in the committee. I spotted Deputy Joe McHugh there. Not sure who else is there. But anyway, that's ongoing. We'll bring you the highlights and the key points from that, of course, on the news as we go through. And I was hoping to bring you what Lisa Hone had to say, but it just so happened to straddle the 10 o'clock news and she was only afforded 6 minutes there. But I'm keeping an eye on it, and if there's anything else of note that comes up, we will bring that to you, of course, because, as I say, important that we discuss the €345,000 that went awry, or that was unaccounted for, or is the centre of controversy. But this is billions and billions of euro of taxpayers' money. This is multiples of what the controversial children's hospital will cost. This is thousands of families. This is their children. This is their physical health, their mental health, their well-being. The conversation's ongoing at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it's actually on Oireachtas TV. I don't believe it is. I think they've chose to put something on the main Oireachtas TV channel, not even this committee discussion, which again, I'm flabbergasted. How was that editorial decision made, actually? Do you know what? I can find out precisely. It's RTE's on their main channel. The RTE committee is on their main channel. And are you sure on the live? No, but on the live one where I'm not on about one of the committee room channels. I'm on about their live channel. That is the one that goes to Searview. I believe that's actually the RTE committee, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, you can go into the committee rooms, but the one that's being streamed on, that they have chosen. I'm open to correction. Who's right? I'm right, am I? Well, there you go. Thanks, Caroline. Not that matters. It's only a bit of banter here. So a BBC presenter's career and life is ruined, says this listener, because of consensual, if immoral, contact with the 20-year-old. Meanwhile, the King's son, a suspected paedophile, let me put it like that, is protected by British monarchy and their taxpayers. Good morning, Greg. They say normalising. Will you ask Annette if she will be changing sex or having sexual relations with another woman if it's so normal? And if not, why not? This is a total nonsense being programmed into our kids. But it's not. But you see, there's a bit of an oxymoron in your comment there, because you're suggesting that even by talking about it or knowing about it, that you might actually all of a sudden become a lesbian. Which you're clearly saying that she's not going to, but you're saying that if we talk to young adults, children about it, that they may. I'm not sure they might, as I say. But still working through it in my own head. Let me see. Actually, I'll read this one out first. There's a small lamb on the road near Ards in Creasla and appears to be badly injured. I'm here on holidays and don't know who to contact. Could you mention it? Perhaps the farmer who owns them could come see it. So it's a small lamb on the road near Ards. And apparently it's badly injured, the wee dote. This is a holiday maker that's contacted us to try and make whomever owns it available. It's like insurance. When you see the small print, you might get a shock, and certainly a lot of the context from primary to senior cycles not suitable for children to assimilate in a classroom situation. Parents should see what is in the lesson, and it should not be integrated across other educational subjects. How does one participate in the consultation about the SPHE? I'll get that URL and share it with you. Every parent must check this out and go into their school and make their views known. The WHO document on sex ed in schools not suitable for children. They don't have the maturity to deal with this material. The WHO document is not influencing this SPHE. That's been going around for a couple of years and was debunked quite some time ago. Regarding the new education programme, there are aspects that are required, particularly around consent and mutual respect. However, elements such as encouraging children who identify as transgender, reinforcing them, particularly where it may simply be a phase, is not acceptable. For example, will the teachers be encouraging children to take their parents to court to change their gender, as set out in Sinn Féin's gender recognition bill? Well, I can say they won't, because it's clear from one of the people that is putting this together. Well, we're being told it won't. Let me put it like that. I can't stand over it. It's not my document. I see actually Deputy Porter McLaughlin is also at that committee meeting, and as I say, Deputy Joe McHugh. I don't see any other Donegal reps there just at the moment. But sorry, what was I saying there? I was just trying to keep people updated on proceedings there at the same time. I can't stand over whether or not that eventually might be the case. The expert panel that this bill came from consisted of lobby groups, civil servants and legal experts. Not one medical doctor, pediatrician, psychiatrist or the panel on the panel. Children are confused enough during their formative years without this adding to it. I'm aware of a school where the teacher must check a particular student's social media profiles to see if they are male or female that day and what their name is. The teachers are afraid to object. Lunacy. Well, if you don't mind, would you let us know the school and any information you might have on a teacher checking a social media student's profile, because I would like to check that with the school management, if that's okay. I think that would be useful information to get out there, wouldn't it? So if you're aware of that school and as I say, we're not going to make it public or the teacher's name's public, or certainly nothing to identify the student, but if you make us aware, we can certainly make inquiries as to whether or not there is a school where a teacher has to check a student's social media profile to see if they're male or female on a particular day and what their name is. All right, okay. We'll be back with more shortly.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday the 13th of July, Jackpot Day. Today's jackpot is €18,800. Today's jackpot number is 27. You're playing on a pink coloured sheet. The reference number is S19. It's game number 28. The numbers are 27, 20, 46, 74, 30, 61, the number 7, 81, the number 6, and 16. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
All men's wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us in Austin La Alton, Gordahork every Friday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Ramsey, on stage from 10 till 12. Why not come early and join us for our Friday night steak night offer? 2 delicious steaks for just €36 and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €70 per person. For reservations, call Austin La Alton on 074 9135 267.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
So you might remember August last year, we covered a story from Buncrana Hearts FC. They posted at the time that prior to an under-11s Braves match, the coaches discovered broken glass bottles and beer cans strewn across the bottom pitch in the Castle Park. They described it as disgusting behaviour that could have serious consequences for children about to play a game of football, and then they appealed to the culprits of such behaviour to stop immediately or action will have to be taken, and they had discussions with the Gardaí at that time. So that was August last year, but unfortunately it seems that there is still anti-social behaviour ongoing in and around the club. Denise joins us on the programme now. Denise, thanks for taking the call. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Greg.
Right, so, I mean, unfortunately, you have evidence that such antisocial behaviour is ongoing because your young son was injured. Tell us how things unfolded.
Yeah, so Jason was playing in the under-13s match on Monday evening down at Buncrana Hearts. And during the match, he slid trying to keep the ball in play. And when he stood back up, he kind of looked down at his hand, and we were fortunately standing not too far from where it happened. But at first thought, I thought maybe he sprained it or fractured it, just the way he was kind of holding it and looking at it. And then we seen the blood coming then. So what happened was when he slid, the glass on the pitch cut him in the arm and on the wrist. It actually cut just on the artery on the wrist as well. So there was a lot of blood and everything coming from him.
Scary.
It was very scary. I suppose like adrenaline kicks in and everything too. The coaches and all were so good. They were straight over and got it bandaged up. Had to re-bandage it and everything then, after a while because of the blood. But they were really good and looked after him really well. So.
And when that was part of it was done, a full night in the ED with him. Jason, did you say his name was?
Yes,
yeah,
Jason.
a full night in ED with him then.
A full night. So A&E was very, very busy. It was jam-packed that night. So it was actually about 8:30 the next morning before we got seen. So it was a long night for him then as well on top of it.
And you.
I know. But you don't think of
No, you're worried about him. But you know what? Like, it's scary enough, and I don't like to be dramatic, but, when you're a parent as well, you can't... Like, say he went for a slide tackle and that cut his thigh, where there's the main vein, so to speak. You can't help wondering how, as bad as this is, how much worse it could be. And you're saying, look, enough is enough. We can't have another child injured like this.
That's it, exactly, because I know the coaches and the volunteers and everything down there, they always do their best, and they have to clear the glass on a regular basis, but it's so easy to miss a small piece of glass on a pitch. I understand that too. So the fact, I know if there's whatever's happening, underage drinking maybe or something like that, but just stop smashing the bottles. It's young kids and everything playing on the pitch, and it was a serious injury for Jason, but it could be far worse, for somebody else. I mean, as you say, if it was the thigh or even if it was the face or something,
the eyes or something,
that was
scary.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So look at, are the people responsible for this listening to us now? Probably not. Is it likely maybe their parents are? Maybe we just need to have a reminder of this conversation and say, look, if you're involved in this activity, don't, because there's another young person that's been injured, and these are the consequences of your actions. I think it's as much as the younger people. If it is younger people, we have to appeal to their parents and guardians as well.
That's it, exactly. Sometimes it's just a conversation. Maybe they're just not thinking or don't realise or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if the bottle just wasn't, if they just left the bottles behind, that's easy to clean up. But the smashing the bottles, it's dangerous, as we found out.
And I'm sure he's okay now, isn't he? He eventually got good care there, and he's on the road to recovery. He is
indeed. He'll be back at the football this evening, so he's doing well.
Right. What position does he play?
Centre mid.
All right, okay. And obviously he's a Buncrana Hearts fan. Does he have another team he supports?
He's a big Liverpool fan as well.
Right, okay, that's good. Good answer. Right answer, Denise. Correct answer. Okay.
Don't know if his daddy would agree with that now,
Listen, thanks. So, did you say that again?
I says, I don't think his daddy would agree with that. He's an Arsenal man.
Listen, no one's perfect, Denise. No one's perfect. Come here. Thanks for helping us raise it again. It's not to cause controversy. It's just for everyone to think a wee bit about actions and consequences. I don't think any person that might have been there would want to hear that a young person was injured. I don't think they would. I think they're, so it's just a case of getting it out there, and just another reminder. Don't break the bottles, or don't go there, or whatever it might be. But Denise, thanks for helping us get that message out, and I'm glad everyone's doing well and is back playing today.
Thank you very much, Greg.
All right, take care. That's Denise Moore there. As I say, we covered that in August. We have another injury there. It's completely avoidable, so hopefully the right people are listening, and we won't see any more of that. Right, okay. Gently remind your listeners watching on YouTube and elsewhere to support the live broadcast and give it a like or a thumbs up. Patrick and Dunlo. Patrick, thank you very much indeed. And the aggregate of listeners, people that choose to watch the show, and it's a good, Patrick, it's a good opportunity to remind me to remind our listeners, we're a radio station, and we that's what we do here. But obviously the world is changing, and people want to consume shows and programs in different ways. And now we have for 4 or 5 years, can't remember when, been streaming this show every day. There's a lot of people who are hard of hearing that now can watch the stream with subtitles, and so they can keep up to date with what's happening, which is really satisfying for me. And there's others that throw it up onto their big screen on YouTube. You can do it on your smart TV or your Fire Stick, or on any of your devices on YouTube or Facebook. And of course, anytime you like or subscribe, it's really good for us because it helps with the algorithms and gets the show further out there. So I'll join with Patrick in saying, yes, please, if you can like and subscribe the pages, we really would appreciate that as well. It's just another way for us to reach the people, not only of the Northwest, but right across the world. Some people sit and watch this show in the evening. It's their evening entertainment in different countries. Isn't that great? Right, okay. I'm going to take a quick break now as we line up our next guest. Please stay right where you are. Back in just a couple of moments.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Shrink your bill with incredible value in your Dunnes Stores basket. Save in the aisle when you mix and match 3 for €10 on a great range of meat and fish, like sweet and spicy chicken wings, fresh salmon darns, and a 4-pack of quarter-pounder steak burgers. Then save again at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher, and get a full basket worth €25.31 for just $20.31. Double savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Fabric World's hot summer sale is now on. Over 5,000 metres of curtain and upholstery now half price or less. Lining from £1, up to 20% of craft cotton. Hot discounts in our summer sandals and fashion department. And there's always fabulous Euro rates at Fabric World Maydown Derry.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
We're joined on the programme now by author of The Menopause Kitchen, Rachel Graham. Rachel, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Greg. How are you?
Great, and great to have you on the show, and congratulations on your book. I always think it's a wonderful achievement, to have an idea, to create it, to get it printed and to get it out there. It must be a lovely feeling.
Yeah, it's really fantastic feeling. It's quite surreal, but it's amazing to see all your hard work kind of come to life.
Yeah, and it's really put together well. So it's not necessarily typical, but certainly a familiar story. You were sort of taken by surprise or blindsided, I think is the way you phrased it, by menopause. And I suppose for a period of time, having feelings or thinking it's something else, not necessarily making the connection with how you were and menopause. Talk to us a little bit about that, Rachel.
Yeah, I think that menopause tends to certainly sneak up on a lot of women. So a lot of the symptoms are they're kind of unrelated, and you just can't really connect the dots and think that this could in fact be menopause. And I think also your age will depend on that. So many women aren't expecting to start experience menopausal symptoms if they even understood what those were in their early 40s, because most women would actually associate it with kind of early 50s. But in fact, perimenopause, as it's known, is the 10 years prior or in the lead up to the official diagnosis of being menopausal, when you experience all of the symptoms. And I think that's what is so surprising for so many women. And they're likely expecting maybe many of the physical symptoms, but in fact, it's the psychological symptoms of menopause that are the ones that really kind of floor you, and also the ones that are least spoken about.
Yeah, and we are able to speak about it now. You don't have to go very far back, maybe a generation. And when I say a generation, I'm on about the parents of 40 or 50-year-olds. Pregnancy was described as expecting or something, and menopause was the change. It was the great unspoken. Hopefully for generations to come, it won't be a taboo subject, if I can phrase it like that. Maybe a little bit strong, but I think exactly. You know the point I'm trying to make. So there are an awful lot of people that, maybe if you're not constantly consuming media and information, this information might not have been passed down from women in your life that you get a lot of your influences from.
Absolutely. I think that our generation now, certainly my peers in their 50s, we're really the first generation of women who have literally blown the lid off this topic. And I think that is exactly what needed to happen, because it's as normal as pregnancy. It's as normal as puberty. It's part of the life cycle of women, what we go through. There's no need to, shroud it in secrecy or shame at all. And it can actually be such a really empowering and positive time in your life. So, and that's really my message.
So the connection then with food seems an obvious one. We are what we eat. What we consume affects how our body operates. It's like putting petrol in a car. It's as simple as that. You put good petrol in, and you get better performance from the vehicle. But you're one of the first really to make this connection that you can adjust your diet, eat nice foods, but does it benefit you through menopause?
Well, I think in menopause, it's a time in our life when we have likely developed a lot of maybe niggling health complaints or health issues. And, at best, we can maybe not feel, our best, or at worst, we maybe could potentially get sick. So both of these outcomes will actually impact your quality of life. And at this life stage, because of the decline in estrogen, we actually have a greater requirement for certain key nutrients than at any other stage in our life. So, for example, our risk for osteoporosis increases exponentially at this life stage. So we need to increase our intake of calcium and calcium-rich foods. And So I am trying to identify other sources of calcium-rich foods apart from what most people would think is their go-to, dairy, as in cow's milk. So it's about really identifying which key nutrients you need to optimize now. So I'm not just talking about adequate, as in RDAs of these foods, as in recommended daily amounts. I'm talking optimized levels of these nutrients so that you can function at your best. And exactly the same analogy that you just made there with the car and the fuel. So you wouldn't put tractor fuel into your Ferrari. You need to think of your body as a Ferrari, and it requires, the high octane fuel in order to be able to function at its best and be able to enable you to have energy, to sleep well, to feel good about yourself, to feel confident, and be able to do all the things in your life that you perhaps up until this point have been unable to do because of work, family, career, whatever it is.
Yeah, and you don't. It's not menu. It's not. It's full of beautiful pictures of food and cooking instructions, ingredients, and what have you. But you don't go straight into it. That's not page one. You've taken the time to frame this. I think. I mean, not everyone's going to read it, but I presume you would like them to read it to understand. You've done it in a short space of time there very well, don't get me wrong. But for people to understand their body, what could be happening with it, what needs to be balanced, what you might need to consume to balance that, how that might benefit you. And it's all science-based. It's laid out so that by the time you get to your first menu, you're kind of in control. You're saying, you know what? I can go to my GP and I can do this and I can do that and the other, but I've got quite a lot of control here about my health and well-being and how I feel and what I put into me.
Exactly, Greg. And that's, I wanted to put the power back, to the reader so that they're in the driving seat of their own health. And I anticipated that people might well skip past the first 100 pages where I explain all of the nutrients, why they're important and why you need to optimize them and in what dosages. And I totally anticipated that because I know how, people go straight to the pictures, what looks good. So then my second point was I need to showcase the benefits of these nutrients in a very easy way. So that's where I provided that at-a-glance information for every single recipe where I've done the nutritional analysis on it. So you have this really nice, colorful bar chart at the bottom of each recipe, and that's showcasing all of the nutritional values for that specific recipe per portion size or per recommended serving size. So exactly. So again, going back to, I suppose, osteoporosis and optimizing your calcium, how much calcium do I need to consume in order to be able to reduce my risk for osteoporosis? So we know that you need to be, how much you need to be consuming, and then you can work it out according to the recipes that you are eating. So it becomes a really effective tool. So I didn't want to just be full of beautiful recipes and beautiful pictures. Of course, that's really important because that's kind of like how you entice the reader to start eating this way. But I actually wanted them to see, God, this is really powerful. I'm actually in control here and I can affect change in terms of my health and future-proofing my health or increasing my health span, which is what we all want at this life stage, is that healthy aging.
Yeah, and a bit of a buzz killer right at the start of the book for some. It's a fact check, it's a fact. And it reads, if you were born female, you will experience menopause. If you haven't yet, it's in the post. Now, someone might read that and go, oh, bloody hell, throw the book in the bin and say, it is what it is, we are where we are. But no, you continue, because this is about saying, no, it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to necessarily endure everything. It's not just the way it is. It's not another burden on women. This is about saying, well, there's an awful lot you can actually do. You know what I mean? And come with me, and you can make choices, and you can be out in front of osteoporosis and other things that you mentioned here. So that's a start point. But it's like, well, so we are going to have to deal with this. This is how we can best deal with it.
Yeah, well, it's like puberty, it's like regardless of whether you're born male or female, you will go through puberty. So it's the same thing, we go through menopause. Men also go through menopause, by the way. It's called the andropause, but their midlife pause is totally different to ours. So your decline in hormones would be very, very gradual, where ours literally just fall off a cliff. So everybody is going to experience some sort of menopause, regardless. But it's I suppose the extent of it, the severity of your symptoms is very individualized to the woman. So, but if you are properly nourished coming into this life stage, then you will be much better equipped in order to be able to deal with all of the symptoms that might come your way, and also in addition to life stressors, which it's a very stressful time for women in midlife.
Yeah, so get on to the recipes then. I mean, they're not boring. This is not about starving yourself. This is not about eating boring, uninteresting foods. You flick through the book, everything looks delicious. It's obviously been really very well presented, and I could perhaps not present it in such a fashion. But the focus is on then obviously, presumably, yes, getting all the balances right, getting into your body what you need, but also, you know, you're not making huge sacrifices here. This is all nice, tasty food.
Yeah, and that's really important to me, because food is intended to be enjoyed, and also enjoyed in good company, and not that you're feeling that, like, you know, you've got your food that you're going to eat over here in the corner and everybody else in the family eats a different way. This is
well, I'd be happy with any of this as an evening meal, so you know, no, I'd be happy with any of this as an evening meal, so no one has to make their own stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, they're all family-friendly recipes, and they can be also adapted accordingly. So, you know, just I think that it's really important that you are, you know, really enjoying your food and enjoying the process of getting healthy, because that then will make it very sustainable for you and will, you know, ensure that you continue eating in this way.
And does this complement your diet, other stuff you might eat, or for best for best results, do you sort of, you know, if you can, eat primarily what is contained in a book like this?
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially the Mediterranean diet. It's also a kind of considered a low glycemic diet, which essentially means that it will help to keep your blood sugars balanced. So it's naturally low in sugars. It's heart healthy. It's bone supportive. It's also brain supportive as well. So it's a very sustainable way of eating long term. It won't feel like a diet. It won't feel like deprivation. And as I said, I think, you know, family friendly. So everybody in the family can enjoy, you know, eating this way.
All right. Well, listen, good luck with it. I presume, well, you can tell me where it's available, Rachel.
Yeah, sure. So it's available in all good bookshops nationwide. So you've got the big ones like Eason's and Hodges and Figgis, Dubray, and then some also online bookshops as well, like Kenny's. So I mean, I think that if it's not in your small independent local bookshop, then just ask them, and they will, you know, get in contact with Gil, and they'll be able to source it for you. And if you want, you can also contact me. I'm on Instagram. That's my main social media platform, which is Rachel Graham Nutrition. And so I'd be delighted if anyone wants to get in touch, has any questions or wants help, whatever, just get in touch. I'd be happy to help.
Okay, listen, it's been lovely speaking to you. Again, well done on your book, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge success for you. Thank you very much, Rachel. Rachel Graham, author of The Menopause Kitchen. That is the book there. And as I say, loads of tasty recipes in there. And maybe someone out there will get that book, and it'll be of great benefit to them. And that's why we've done that piece there. Liz White's in Cavenhill, Lifford. Hiya, Liz. Happy 50th birthday from Mum, Dad, brothers and sisters. They're sending you loads of good wishes there coming in. We'll join with them. Right, I'll take a break and come back then with more of your comments that have been coming in over the course of this morning.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Daleside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes and garden sheds, wooden and steel, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Find us on social media. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality. Call today on 087 112 4766.
Leisureland Redcastle, open every day from 12 to 5:30 p.m. Fantastic for family day trips. Excellent value for birthday party packages. For a wonderful family experience, check out leisurelandredcastle.ie.
Look, not to talk out of school, but I've been driven about 74,000 kilometres more than my odometer is showing. Yeah.
If cars could talk, you wouldn't need Cartel for things like mileage discrepancies and full histories.
But they don't. So you do. Buying a used car? Cartel it at cartel.ie.
New this week at Home Store and More. All school bags are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price school bags are gone, they're gone. Also, all indoor clothes errors and all outdoor cushions are still all half price. But when all the half price indoor clothes errors and all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Now, welcome back to the programme, and we welcome into studio Corrine Robinson. Corrine, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you with us. How are you?
I am very well, thanks, Greg.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, now we are talking in relation to the Gareth Friel Memorial Charity. It was created in memory of your brother, Gareth. And I'm really sorry that very sadly he passed away on the 31st of July last year. So
yeah, he
his
did.
first anniversary is coming up, and it's all very recent and raw, and I understand that. But as I said to you just before we come on air, I'm sure he's here guiding you if needed. Okay, so talk to me a little bit, as much as you're comfortable with, about Gareth.
Gareth was my little brother. He had profound special needs. And he was non-verbal. He wasn't capable of doing what, a lot of people would hope to do in life. But having said that, he wasn't shy, and he made a big impression on people. He had a huge personality. He was full of badness. Everybody who met him remembered him, and he changed lives, as well. And we were very grateful to have him as our brother, and it definitely made us better people, being able to share our lives with him. And I would say anybody who knew him would agree with that. He was a great character.
Yeah, and what a beautiful legacy to be able to leave behind you in far too short a life, but it's a lovely thing, isn't it, to touch people like that?
It is, definitely is. And, the charity came about not long after he died. We were quite sure we would do something in his memory to carry on his legacy, like you say. And me and my parents, we talked about what we would do, and we weren't sure whether or not we would maybe raise money for an organisation, to support disabled children, or whether we would try and hit the bigger community. So that's where the swing idea came from, because he loved to swing when he was younger. And also we felt if we added an ability swing to the local playground, it wouldn't just benefit disabled children, it would actually benefit the whole family, because the whole family could go and enjoy the playground together. So that's where the whole idea came from.
Right, so it's the Fun for All fundraiser for Buncrana Play Park. So you are going to locate this swing in the park, is that correct?
So it's in the Festival Play Park in Buncrana at the shorefront. It's a county council owned and maintained playground, so we're very lucky to have that as it is. I know I'm biased, but it's definitely one of the best playgrounds in Donegal.
You can get away with it.
It's by the beach. It's a lovely setting as well. It's got lots of equipment. We're very, very lucky to have it. So this, just moving with the times as well, I suppose, is just going to be a good extension to have. So we're aiming to install the ability swing, and then also the bird's nest swing. So a lot of people will be familiar with the bird's nest swing. It's like a huge disc. And it's an important piece of equipment, because, if you're in a wheelchair, you're not able to go on one of these. So now they have the ability swing, but maybe you can't hold on to a swing, maybe you can't sit up properly, maybe you need to be supported, and maybe you would just like to play on a piece of equipment with your brothers and sisters and with your friends.
How important is that? Because I think
the bird's nest swing makes that possible.
Inclusion is so important to people of all ages, and I think particularly for younger people, for children, because they can watch on and go, well, why can't I do that? Yet we have stuff, if we put it in, that they can be involved with it.
They can be involved in it. And I think too, if you have a young family and one of your children have any form of disability at all, you have to think about where you go as a family to include all of your family members, regardless of their ability. So I think it's very important that we now make the playground one of those places that a whole family can go to, and everybody can be included regardless of what your capabilities are.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it, I'm not sure you did, but also part of the plans is an wheelchair accessible picnic bench. So if you decide to take a few sandwiches, everyone can sit in the same space.
We decided go big or go home. We might as well just, when you're doing it, you might as well do it right. That was our feeling. It started off with just a swing, then it became the bird's nest swing, and then now, correct.
Yeah,
the picnic bench has been added on too, but we're very excited about it, and the community have got behind us. We've been so grateful and surprised at the support that we've received from the local communities,
which I'm sure too, as well as in this project, is so useful, but as well in dealing with your own loss and grief as well, that people are so supportive in your brother's memory. It helps
exactly
with that, doesn't it? Because it shares the...
It's definitely helped with the grieving process, to be able to focus positively on him over the last year. Obviously it's bittersweet. We wouldn't be doing it if we had him. However, it definitely has helped me anyway over the last couple of months, and I'm very proud to be involved in it.
And so you should be. You're making great inroads. And this is working with the council, obviously, because as you mentioned, they're responsible for the playground. So you had to approach them presumably and say, this is what we want to do.
Yeah, so we had the idea. Of course, we went and we had an idea and we hadn't a clue what we were doing really. But I approached Councillor Nicholas Crossan first, and he put me on to the Donegal County Council engineer, John Deeney. And John has just been so supportive from day one. He might not be as happy to hear from me as I am to hear from him on a regular basis, but he's been great, and he's been very helpful. And now the disability officer, Trudy O'Reilly, has been helping as well. So some people might think, well, maybe the council should have had it in there already, but the reality is the council are stretched, doing as much as they can where they can. And they're trying to put everything, in the best place possible. But the reality is, when we looked into this and we saw the costings of it, we would not actually have been able to do this as a family or as a charity without the support of the Donegal County Council. So it has become a huge joint venture, and we're very grateful for that they agreed to help us out. So
excellent.
It's very important.
So is there a target figure, or is it open-ended, and where are you at this point before we start talking then about the fundraising element to this?
The contract that we have now with the council is that we, Fund for All, will raise the money for the equipment, which comes to about €20,000 for the three pieces, and the Donegal County Council, they have agreed to fund the groundswork and the installation of the same, which comes to way more than 20,000. So we got lucky. We really did get lucky with that. However, I don't underestimate it as a huge amount of money to ask of the public.
So have
which
you
is
started
what we're doing.
yet? Is there a figure there yet at the moment?
Yeah, we have. We've about 8,000 at the minute.
We can blast through the 20,000 here.
Yeah.
Can't we?
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
I mean, why not? Who would not want to have some association with this? Because everyone, in a way, who contributes, whether it's a $5 or a $10 or 100, they're part of this. They then become part of this great legacy, the Gareth Friel Memorial Charity, because they can go up and say, I contributed.
Everybody can say they contributed.
I just sometimes do we make that connection to how important your donation is, because you are part of this amazing thing.
That's exactly right, and that's why earlier on I got in touch with the local schools, because for the same reason I thought, well, this is a legacy for the future children of Buncrana and the surrounding areas, and for tourists. So I thought, well, why not let the kids in Scully Sagan and St. Orns and the other schools be able to say, we helped do that, Mummy, and be proud of it. And so we got in touch with some of the schools, and Scully Sagan, St. Orns National School in Cockhill, and Little Twigs and Forest Friends, the Forest Play School in Buncrana, they all had bake sales and coffee mornings for us, and they raised over €3,000, which blew us away. So the children should be very, very proud of themselves, and also thanks to the parents who obviously gave the kids the money. So it is important to us, and
it's all the kids, don't worry about the parents.
It's all about the kids.
So just to be clear, just to reiterate before we then start talking how people can help, Corrine and others involved in this, can you imagine a scenario, and everyone's situation is different, that going forward in this park in Buncrana, you could have a family of 4 who, whichever makeup that might be, who's and let's just say one of the children has a disability, that they could then go collectively the siblings could enjoy the swings and rides together, and that sense of the swings and the bird's nest together, and the wheelchair swing, that sense of inclusion and involvement, that everybody's doing the same thing, and then pop out the picnic at the picnic bench. Just how important that might be to people.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to
It's
achieve
hugely
here.
important, and I think unless you have a child with disabilities, it's maybe not something that you can appreciate
That's why I
as
tried
much.
to articulate it in as clear a way as possible.
Definitely. And I mean, if you can go somewhere that you don't have to think about what's going to happen when I get there, that's the dream, isn't it?
Right, of course. The Facebook page is Fun for All.
Fun for All, yeah.
And there's an iDonate link there,
We have
presumably.
an iDonate page. Yeah, if you go into iDonate and type in Gareth's name, we have two. We've iDonate charity page, and then we also have the iDonate a walk for Gareth. So you can
we'll
donate
talk
direct
about
to
that
the
in a
walk, or
second.
you can direct to the.
So on the iDonate, it's Gareth Friel,
Yeah.
GARETHFRIEL.
Yeah.
And you can go for Fun for All on Facebook. Now, talk to me then about, listen, there's 12 grand here required. I would just hope that people listening today would be able to put a big chunk in that for all the reasons that have been outlined, and I really hope so. And as soon as I come off air, I'll do my bit as well. But I think we all could just get yous across this modest in the wider scale of things.
Yeah, and the great scale of things with today's money,
target.
I suppose, is not a huge amount. We're just aware of the fact that we're living in an environment and we're living in a time where money's tight.
But you only need.
But
you only need.
If every person in a show gave us €1,
exactly, that's it. All right, okay. So talk to me then about the Friel family walk.
The Friel family dander, yes. So next Saturday, we're setting off at Bambas Crown in Mallinhead at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're walking through Carndonagh and down into the Market Square in Buncrana. So it's about 40k, I think, altogether.
And you
So
all get on, because if this was my family, it'd just be a screaming match, a 40 kilometres
well, the
screaming
road's
match.
wide enough. We could take the both sides, I suppose, and keep us apart from each other. But no,
It's on the 22nd of July, and how do
so a
people
week on
support?
Saturday.
Or do you want people to join you, or what?
Both, yeah. So, I mean, people can support you. I know we do need money, obviously, but people can support us too by coming out at the end, welcoming us back to Buncrana. Join in on the walk as well would be wonderful. There is that option too, to join in at any point along the way. And obviously the financial donations are hugely important as well. So that's the three ways. So you can give the money direct, to any of us on the day, or you can give money to the iDonate webpage as well.
And lots of people can donate a little, or maybe if you've got a lot of money, you can have a big say in the installation of a wheelchair ability swing, a bird's nest swing, and a wheelchair accessible picnic bench. All, hopefully, it's going to happen, of course, at the Festival Play Park in Buncrana. But you can go on to Fun for All now and get more details. So go to iDonate and put Gareth's name in, because this is all about him. GARETH, Gareth Friel, FRIEL, and donate whatever you can. And Kareen's recognised we're all in the same boat. It's some people have more, some people have less, and you recognise that. But if you have a wee bit spare, then please do. Who's the bodyguards here with you?
The bodyguards are Sonny and Eve.
Hi,
They're
Sonny.
my two.
I thought you would come in and say hello, but not too shy.
No, they're sitting looking in the window.
Right, okay, well, listen, making sure you don't do a misstep. Anything else you want to mention before I let you go,
Anything
Kareen?
else? We've actually contacted all our lovely councillors in Donegal as well. They have a fund called the Members Development Fund.
Good stuff.
I know,
they do
well,
indeed,
you got to try, everybody. So I'm glad to say the Buncrana councillors have come back with donations for us, but I'm still waiting to hear back now from all the rest, so I just thought I'd give them a wee reminder there. They might have missed the email, might have went into the junk, they might just be too busy, but we'll be delighted to hear back from anybody, because it will add to tourism in the area as well.
Of course it will. And that's such an important thing, because if someone's thinking of where to go, they can say, oh right, well, these facilities are there, so there's many reasons. Okay, listen, it's a wonderful thing in memory of a wonderful person, and we recognise how brave you've been and how difficult it is to talk about, but it's for such a good reason. We appreciate it so much, and I just hope you blast through that target really, really quickly.
Thank you. Can I say two more small things? Anybody
I thought you didn't want to come on.
No, I know, but sure, when you start, then you may keep on going. Anybody who joins then for the walk on Saturday, if they could wear white.
Lovely.
White will just represent the purity of disabled children. Brilliant. And I think it's a nice gesture. And also we have a charity fundraiser in the Laurentic Bar on this Saturday night coming, we've an 80s and 90s disco with raffles as well, so everybody's very welcome to come along, have a hoolie, kick their shins up and have a great night in memory of Gareth.
Brilliant.
So
And
thank you so much,
It's
Greg,
our
for
pleasure.
having me.
It's our pleasure, Corinne. Once I got you started, I couldn't stop you.
No, you couldn't stop me. Yeah.
Just to remind you, that walk on July 22nd, wear white if you can. You don't have to do it all, presumably. You can just be part of it or go out and wave or whatever. It's a 40-kilometre route. The Friel family are going... The Friel Ramble, is it that what you called it?
Friel Dander.
Friel Dander. From Bamber's Crown, Mallinhead to the Festival Play Park. And
sorry, not to Market Square. Sorry to interrupt you. We're finishing at the Market Square in
Can I sit over there and you do this
do you
side?
want to swap over for an hour?
I think we might as well. Come here,
Sorry,
listen.
Greg.
So it finishes where? Just to make sure I have it
The
absolutely...
Market Square, Buncrana, hopefully around 3 o'clock.
Perfect, okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Corinne, for coming in, and thank you to the two that come in to support you as well. And the very best luck with everything, and I just hope you blast through that target just as soon as is possible.
Thank you, and I really do appreciate you talking to us today.
It's
Thank
our
you so
pleasure.
much on
Thank
behalf
you.
of everyone. Thank you.
Indeed. Corinne Robinson there, brother of Gareth Friel, who very sadly passed away just last year on July 31st. And I mentioned there, go to Fun for All and check out the links there on Facebook, or go to iDonate and search Gareth's name, Gareth Friel.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Nutrius Intensive Lamb and Nutrius Lamb Crib Crunch lamb feeds are now on promotion at your local Homeland. Buy 10 bags, get 1 free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. Nutrius Intensive Lamb Feed contains intake booster for higher intakes, better thrive and faster finish. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365, on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
While on his lunch break at work, Sean switched to 48 Mobile. He got all data, calls and texts for the limited time offer of $6.50. That made him feel like he scored a goal. Yes! So he celebrated by pulling his shirt up over his head and knee sliding across his boss's desk. Good call, Sean. 48 Mobile. Good call. Subject to fair usage. $12.99 a month after the first 3 months. $6.50 one-time activation fee. See 48.ie.
Dirkfest Music Festival Castle Dirk presents Teen Fest 2023, Northern Ireland's biggest teenage music festival. Monday, July 31st from 7 p.m. to midnight, with top DJs and artists performing in our Big Top 10 plus other great attractions. An unmissable party for kids of secondary school age, with tickets just £25. See dirkfest.co.uk.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Okay, it's a minute past 11. Time for a news update now. Good morning once again, Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Joint Committee on Housing, Local Government and Heritage are meeting to discuss the defective block scheme regulation and review of IS 465 with stakeholders. In her opening statement, Chairperson of MAG, Lisa Hone, highlighted contradictions in government's actions and says she believes the efforts made for affected homeowners correlates to their values in terms of possible seats for the upcoming general election. The mother of a boy who got cut on broken glass in an under-13s match is appealing for an end to the antisocial behaviour on the grounds. Denise Moore's son Jason slid to keep the ball in play when he cut his arm and wrist on a broken bottle. As a result, they spent the night in the emergency department. Inquiries are ongoing in relation to the theft of a bus from Ramelton Road, Letterkenny at the start of this week. The bus was taken at around 12:45 a.m. on Monday last. It was then driven the whole way to Dublin city centre, reportedly undetected. Gardaí say it is currently undergoing a technical examination. Donegal County Council is to write to the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh to explore whether they can embark on a joint initiative to bring down the cost of ferry services. The issue was raised at Glenties Municipal District this week by Councillor Micheál Colin McGilla Asbug, who said he's been told by many people that the cost of travel has grown so much people are cancelling plans to bring their car from Donegal to Scotland and vice versa. And finally, Donegal Mountain Rescue were part of a multi-agency operation in Sligo in efforts to locate missing 22-year-old David Slaninia. In a statement, they say it was a massive operation in which they left with heavy hearts. David went missing on Saturday last. Gardaí say following the location of a body, the search has been stood down. Those are the latest headlines. Next update is at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Thank you very much, Donna Marie.
While on his lunch break at work, Sean switched to 48 Mobile. He got all data, calls and texts for the limited time offer of $6.50. That made him feel like he scored a goal.
Yes!
So he celebrated by pulling his shirt up over his head and knee sliding across his boss's desk. Good call, Sean. 48 Mobile. Good call. Subject to fair usage. $12.99 a month after the first 3 months. $6.50 one-time activation fee. See 48.ie.
Now, as you heard, the Joint Committee on Housing, Local Government and Heritage have been meeting to discuss the defective block scheme regulation and review IS 465 with stakeholders. An opening statement was delivered by the chairperson of MAG, Lisa Hone. Let's hear of some of what Lisa had to say.
There is almost no one going through this process already who is not looking for additional finance. And we're not talking about insignificant amounts of money. We're talking about tens of thousands of euros. I gave the example of the homeowner who is housed at just over 1,200 square feet. That is a real life example of somebody going through the building process right now. It is as current as I can get it. It is real. The finances have to be bottomed out. It has to be bottomed out, or you have to come in and do an end-to-end scheme. You have to be able to allow people to move forward, because at the moment people are cobbling things together, looking for extra finance. We heard last week about the issues with the banks, etc. That is a roadblock. If that is not resolved, it will continue to be a roadblock, especially for those who have very, very limited access to savings or being able to raise a loan, for example. They are absolutely trapped, as colleagues in other areas said. They are utterly. What do they do? What is the answer from the Department of Housing for somebody who's looking at maybe 30, 40, 50k shortfall, and they do not have access to finance, yet they cannot progress through? Again, with regard to vulnerable people, we have people in situations they are literally trapped in their home because there are roadblocks that will not allow them to progress. We know that alternative accommodation is an issue. For lots of people, finding accommodation is an issue anyway. But if you've got any kind of special or complex need, it is almost impossible. Therefore, they are trapped.
OK, there you have it. That's just some of what the chair of MAG, Lisa Hone, had to say at that committee meeting. And there's other speakers from other affected counties as well. OK, and as I say, we'll have that full contribution. We have it now already, thanks to our news team, on our website. And we'll be covering, as you'd imagine, we'll be covering it throughout the course of the day. I just want to mention, by the way, Gareth's anniversary mass. We were speaking to Karine, Gareth's sister, just before the news at 11. Gareth's anniversary mass, his first anniversary mass, is actually taking place Friday the 21st of July. That is Friday week, tomorrow week. It's in Cockhill Chapel. It's at 7 p.m. in the evening if you wish to attend that. I just said I'd mention it, and there you are. Right, we're joined on the programme by Anita Curran. Anita, how are you getting on? Good morning to you.
Hi, Greg. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for accepting our invite onto the programme. And how are you feeling? How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm getting stronger each day, so that's the best I can do at the moment.
Yeah, now you are using your platforms to urge women to advocate for their health and not to give up. And this is really based on a recent diagnosis and operations, and we'll get to that. But presumably it's based on your experience through your adulthood. So what kind of symptoms were you experiencing, and what was your interactions like with the medical profession, so to speak, and try and get answers and to get better?
Of course. So I suppose I've just been diagnosed with endometriosis. My main symptoms, I suppose, would be strike and abdominal pain. muscle pain in my lower back, my hips, tops of my legs. I had bowel and stomach issues. One of my main things was endobelly, where I would just be severely bloated that I just could not get rid of.
How debilitating was that, just in terms of, work or holidays or...
Oh, yeah, like it impacts everything, I suppose. Excuse me. That it would, most days I'm stuck with a hot water bottle on my stomach or my back. I use a TENS machine like that, so I have that on my pelvic area and on my back to help. And trying then to just plan things. I'm trying to say, okay, am I due my period that week? Am I due to be ovulating? So, it definitely has an impact.
And when did these symptoms start for you, and did they get progressively worse?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, I suppose when I first got my first period, it was quite heavy, and we'd gone to the doctors around that time, but was told, look, this is the life of a woman. You're unfortunate that you have a heavy period, and that's it. And then through my teenage years, I'd kind of gone to the doctors, but had never, ever heard of endometriosis. It was only until about 2015 that I was Googling. And the one thing that you're told not to do is Google symptoms. But I had been to doctors multiple times. And this word endometriosis came up. I looked at it. I then had gone to my doctor, and they said, no, you're not showing the symptoms of that. So again, I kind of... I didn't really look into it too much.
Yeah, but that point then, you see, that's... and listen, maybe they meant that was their opinion. But then you start doubting yourself and questioning yourself, and you say, well, I really believe this is what it is. I'm reading this information, and this is like someone's talking about my life. And we go to these people that we trust, and I say, I'm sure there was no malice in it. But then you go, right, so I kind of had built myself up for this. So what if it's not that, then what is it? And then maybe do you start doubting yourself? Do I have a low pain threshold? Is it in my head?
Course, yeah.
Am I manifesting this stuff?
Yeah. And like that then, because I was having issues with my bowel, I was being sent then for colonoscopies. But even though I was telling that I knew that it wasn't a bowel issue because it wasn't food related, or, I was going along with my cycle and I was giving them this information. So I was sent for, I think, 3 colonoscopies over the past couple of years. That's unnecessary strain, I suppose, on my body to even go through the likes of that.
So were you ever given an IBS diagnosis or told that must be what it is? Or
I was just told that you have IBS and that's it. But I knew in my heart and soul that wasn't. I knew that I still were showing symptoms of endometriosis. I had one, I suppose, GP back in 2022 who actually questioned me, do I think these symptoms are in my head? And at that point, I suppose I kind of got a bit low in the sense of not really wanting to advocate for myself, because I was like, no one is listening to me. So I gave it, I suppose, 6 months, and I ended up finding a new GP, which in today's world is extremely hard to find. But I have a fantastic GP now who really listened to me, who said, when I presented with my symptoms, he says, no, this definitely sounds like endometriosis. And he referred me then to look, I'm in a privileged position. I believe that I'm living outside of Dublin, that I have access to 3 of the main maternity hospitals. I know that like women in Donegal don't have that, and women even that I've spoke to from Donegal that have had to travel, if they have more difficult cases of endometriosis, that's a huge impact of having to travel 4 hours down to Dublin and getting accommodation and the likes of that as well.
Right. So, I mean, they weren't looking for endometriosis initially, so they didn't find it. So how is it diagnosed, and how do they sort of determine the extent of it and what action to take thereafter?
Yeah, so I suppose, look, they send you for all these other investigations first, and ultrasound. Ultrasound won't show endometriosis. A contrast MRI, but again, it's dependent on the consultant doing it. But the main diagnosis is a laparoscopy. So it's keyhole surgery to investigate. So that's what I had last Wednesday. I had a diagnostic laparoscopy, and then they found endometriosis on my bladder and my ovaries. So that was excised. So they cut it.
Right. So, but how does that feel? Because all of a sudden, I mean, firstly, it's keyhole, but it's invasive surgery.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anyone enjoys looking forward to that type. But at the end of the day, to that type of procedure. But then at the same time, finally, it's not in your head. you don't have a low threshold. You don't just have heavy periods. This is just part of being a woman. You don't have IBS. What did it feel like when they said, oh, we found this? In and of itself, if you'd got this diagnosis at 18, it'd have been like, oh, how am I going to deal with this? But with everything you'd went through, what did you feel like when they says, oh, yes, by the way, we have actually found endometriosis on your bladder and ovaries?
The relief. I think it was more the emotional.
Isn't that crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that you should feel relief. Yeah.
Lifted off my shoulder, because even at that, they had told me that the surgery would take, but the diagnostic part of it would take between 20 and 30 minutes. And if they found anything, then it would take longer. So when I was coming out of recovery, the first thing I asked was how long or what time is it? Because I knew the time I went in, and I knew that I was in for over 2 hours, that they had to have found something. I was brought back to my room and they'd left notes on my table. So I hadn't been informed at this point, but on my notes it had said excision of endometriosis. So I knew, and I just burst out crying, and I just couldn't believe that finally I had an answer that I knew in my heart and soul was there, but trying to get it was quite difficult.
Yeah, so what is endometriosis? Like, what is happening? What is, in your case, and it's not always on the bladder and ovaries, it can affect women in different ways, but like what's there and what's causing the issues here?
Yeah, so it's tissue that's similar to the lining of the uterus, that grows outside of the uterus, and then it leads to inflammation on the different organ parts, usually in the pelvic region. However, it can move to other parts of the body as well.
So all those pains are all making sense now. That was your internals inflamed, under pressure, in pain, pushing out on you. It all makes sense now.
Yeah. And it's, there's no known cause for endometriosis and there's no known cure. However, they do say that, say the likes of contraceptive pill can ease the symptoms. It doesn't actually stop the growth of endometriosis. It eases, I suppose, the symptoms that you're having, and then the laparoscopy for either ablation or excision. So the ablation is the burning of it, and the excision is the cutting, the removing of it.
I've spoken to people in the past who got almost instant relief, that things improved immediately. Now, obviously, it's post-surgery and there's other things that have to heal at the same time. But have you been told how this procedure now may affect you and in terms of sort of pain relief and giving you the fullness of your life back?
Of course. Yeah, no, they're hopeful. Look, I have my 6-week checkup in 5 weeks. So I suppose I'll know more from them. But they have said that from the surgery that they did, they're hopeful that my symptoms will improve.
Have you felt any improvement yet, or is it still waiting?
Not yet. I think I'm still kind of just
still raw. And inflammation has to retreat and stuff as well, so your body has to settle and stuff. But you're very optimistic because they found what you suspected was there. So as I say, it wasn't in your head. Now, in terms of, as you say, there's no cure as such. Is this a procedure that you may have to go through again in the future? And do you have any idea how regularly and stuff like that?
I think each case is dependent. There's women that have had 4, 5 or 6 laparoscopies. There's women that have had 1 and, they seem to be fine, but it's something that can continually grow.
Yeah, but I think you're already at terms with that because you know what it is, you know what can be done, what has to be done. That's not, I mean, listen, it's not ideal, but I think now that you're in control a bit here now, you can live with that. You would prefer this one being a one-time show, of course. Who wouldn't? Yeah. But you know what you have now.
Of course, yeah, and that's and it's more so as well. Like the point of my posting onto my social media was to raise awareness, because there's so many women that have actually wrote to me over the past week that have either they're going through it, they're either waiting on a diagnosis, they're not being listened to by their GP. Like it's quite common.
Yeah, yours is not a unique story, which is quite sad. And again, here we are talking about another issue that is affecting women's health. It's very hard to come up with a similar example for men, and I am a man, don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to be populist here, but it seems to be foot dragging whenever it's down to the women who are they expected to just grin and bear it and soldier on regardless. But anyway, this is also getting the attention in the Dáil, the houses of the Dáil, which is welcome as well. So you've been tracking, obviously, as you would, what's being discussed. So who's discussing this in the Dáil and where are they hoping these conversations might go?
I think it's more there's I don't know a huge amount of it, to be honest.
It's in the Shannon more so, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
To dip in and out of it, but the endometriosis framework was announced, so that they're trying to, I suppose, get everything. It was announced in March 2023, so they're trying to, I suppose, make the framework the best that it can be, that people are informed. And, you know, I think one of the points that one of the TDs had on it was that, you know, our education, and I think education from a young age, like I never heard of endometriosis when I was in school, and I think if young women from a young age are informed about this, that they know, okay, having a really severely heavy period is not normal, their parents being aware of it, that doctors, I suppose, require further information or education on it, and I suppose the population in general, men and women, so that they can support their partners and sisters and daughters, and, you know, it's...
And I think, you know, we shouldn't forget that, not me and you, I'm speaking for myself, like when we go to a GP's general practitioner, they don't know everything. Yeah. Or they might have their own ideology in terms of certain things, that this needs to be a situation whereby information is sent out to them and say, look, you know, we are seeing such and such amount of cases, these are the symptoms, please consider this as a possible causation. So it's not just the general public and women, but also those who we kind of go to trust and diagnose, because most of us, I think, what they say is gospel. You know, I think more so than ever now, we are sort of advocating for ourselves and saying, hold on a second, can you double check that? But I think for most of us, you know, if as long as they tell us we're not dying, we head out know, relatively happy. But that's not enough nowadays.
No,
well, listen, I mean, you're doing your bit, of course, to raise awareness of endometriosis. I think I wish the name was a little bit more simpler, and I think that would help to communicate it a little bit, and it were better to understand how one would go about that. I haven't a clue. But I just hope that as they expect now that you're relieved of this burden that you've had all your adult life and before that as well, and that hopefully you're one of the people that you don't have to require the laparoscopy as regular some might. Okay. Listen, thanks, Anita. And listen, as you say, you know, you've been contacted by people. Your social media, is it on Instagram or Facebook, as simple as Anita Curran, is it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Okay, right. As I say, I do hope everything goes to plan and you recover really, really quickly and you get the improvement that you deserve. Thank you so very much indeed.
Thanks so much for covering the story. Appreciate it. All the best. It's our pleasure.
Take care of yourself. All right, Anita Curran there. Have you a view on that? Is that something that's affected you? Also, are you a person that has, maybe you're at the earlier part of Anita's journey where you're going, like, I'm that person that's feeling this and I'm being told it's that. You know, has that interview talked to you a little bit? And if you want to share it with us anonymously, you know what I mean? But sometimes just get it off your chest. It's useful. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. This is the 9 till Noon show. This is your local radio station, Highland Radio. We'll be back with more after these.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till Noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today. Harkins have been providing customers with quality fireplaces, stoves and electric fires for over 30 years. And now you can experience the elegance of luxurious worktop from Harkins. Their experienced craftsmen can fabricate marble, quartz or granite worktops to your specification. So, if you're planning a new kitchen or bathroom or upgrading your existing one, Harkin Fireplaces can provide a quote for your quartz, marble or granite worktop. Visit their showroom in Ballybogan, Lifford or call 9141109 or visit them online at harkinfireplaces.ie.
If you're having a party, BizPrint can create invitations, banners, posters and photo frames for any occasion. Give your guests a fun way to create great memories with props and photo frames. Call BizPrint on 917795 or visit bizprint.ie.
Design driven by impulse, performance in tune with your emotions, an instant connection, electric. At Cupra, we believe in galvanizing these instincts. It's why the Cupra Born, our 100% electric model, looks, feels and behaves unlike anything else on the road. Follow your impulse and visit cupraofficial.ie to see our incredible July offers. Visit Connolly's Cupra, Sligo. Cupra Born. Test drive today. Own it tomorrow.
Agriculture can meet climate targets by 2030. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out how farmers can slash emissions by following new Teagasc roadmap. €500 a week proposal for retiring farmers. Re-wetting dropped in latest nature restoration law twist. Over 1 million straw bales to be chopped this year. Uproar over Board B access to farmers' animal medicine data. And calls for €300 per hectare designated land payment.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're very relaxed here. We're just talking. We're talking to Mickey Joe Hart. His nephew's here. He's just strolling around the place with a cup of coffee. He's about to take us. It's chilled, Mickey Joe. Isn't that the way it should be? What do you think? Huh?
Lovely, yeah.
I think just
Caroline has it all. Fair play there. She has it well sorted.
Right, okay.
Get
so
in there.
this is an interesting one because it's 20 years bar the shouting, if not over that, since your Eurovision performance in Latvia. We've got the world tonight. It actually sounds fresh, doesn't it? It doesn't sound as old as that. Would you agree?
No, I think you're right. You know, it's weird. It's one of those songs.
You could bang that out. If no one had ever heard it, you could release that tomorrow and it would be contemporary.
Yeah, I think it's whatever way they recorded and produced it. It's a weird one because it seems to just keep finding a new audience. So I'm guessing that the track has a lot to do with that and the sound on the track. You know, so it still kind of seems to find a younger, if I can say, studenty kind of audience. Yeah. Even 20 years later, you know, I'm going. You know, I'd still be doing those types of gigs and around universities and all those kind of places, and that's only because the new people are kind of being introduced to the song. Or
do you enjoy playing it still? Because it's so synonymous with you. You know, some artists can go, even the thing that sort of maybe catapulted them, they kind of want to distance themselves from it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. I mean, there was a period kind of went through and I struggled a bit with it. I won't tell you any lies, because I felt in my own head it was getting in the way of everything, because anybody came to the gig, play, we've got the world, it sort of became... and maybe it was just notion to myself more than anything, really. But and once I got to grips with that, and I'm doing all solo gigs this weather, and I just do an acoustic-y tempo type of version, and I have a bit of fun with it, and people love it. And sometimes I'll do it once in the night, sometimes I'll do it twice, and we'll have a bit of fun, and that's how I see it. And it's 3 or 4 minutes of a 2-hour gig or whatever.
Yeah, but even if for people, I mean, your fans know all of your stuff, but you've got a big catalogue of work, a lot of recognisable stuff there. If I go and see an artist that I know them. Like I think a good example would have been Bagatelle, and if you'd have put me on the spot here and says name 3 Bagatelle songs, I'd have struggled to get past 2. But then you see them live, and you know every song.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean? The casual fan, you go, is that Bagatelle? All right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and Aslan's the same, and a few other of the big bands.
Yeah, I mean, this is it.
But you've got a catalogue there that's rich for your gigs.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoy it. I just go out and enjoy it, and enjoy bringing some of the songs, that are people were there, maybe they haven't heard them before, and just introducing them to the new material. Well, new to them, maybe not new to me, but yeah, it's a bit of that. But I've been able to, if I can say, very bluntly, kind of piggyback a lot of my own stuff off the back of We've Got the World, right. And I've been very, very lucky to have a song that has allowed me to do that. A lot of people.
But I suppose name an artist that didn't have a breakthrough song that's doing the exact same thing. Perhaps.
Yeah,
maybe Eurovision tie-in, it's a little bit unique to you, but I think most artists have that track, don't they? And I often think you can see it too when they want to sort of introduce new material, but everyone wants the old stuff, and that's a challenge I don't have because I'm not a musician. So I can't believe it's got to now whereby you yourself, I'm sure others have, where you yourself have reimagined We've Got the World Tonight, and it is Asgaelige in Irish. So how did this come about?
Well, very organically, and I have to thank one of your, if I can say, sister stations. I don't know if that's right.
No,
Today FM, the guys up there, Dermot and Dave, another show that we know and love. They have a roving reporter that goes out and does crazy things. They set him up for pranks, if you can say, and they give him a challenge. challenge of singing a song as Gaeilge, and he chose We've Got the World just out of the blue. So that was completely, I had nothing to do with that. I got a call from Cahill or from Today FM saying, listen, we're doing this for the big busk. It's going to be a bit of fun. We've got a translation in place. What do you think of it? I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. Would you come on the day and surprise us on, it was up in St Stephen's Green, to raise a lot of money for Focus Ireland. So I said, yeah, I'd love to. And they sent me on the translation, and I ran it by my mother, which was very important. You'll know the connections there, Greg.
Yeah.
So I made sure that she was okay with it, that side of the family, and she made a couple of little tweaks on it. And but she loved the translation. It was primarily done by the guys in College to
Because
Lurgan.
you can't bang this into Google.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean,
you can't do that with something. Well, you can, but you'll come up with something that's
We'll transfer it back again, and you'll see what you've come up with.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I suppose, what would you say, a version of the song. You can't translate directly, basically, because then it becomes something else. And they've done a lovely translation. There's a lot of it's very nice, and it sings very well. It's very easy in a way for it was good. It was a nice way to. It was nice to sing, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes you do translations, and they're quite lumpy. It's very hard to sing and make it fit.
I don't want to get too deep on this. This isn't Monday Night Sessions or Dermot and Dave or whatever. But in a way, do you see any improvement or disimprovement in this version in terms of the flow of the lyrics, the meaning of them? I mean, I'm not going to try and get too deep here. But do you like this new version? I mean, you can't compare it. I'm not asking you to compare your children here. Yeah. But are you happy with what?
It's a hard one. No, I am, and it seems to be that the Gaeilgeoirs have taken to it. That's the main thing, because that's the one thing I was worried about it, that it wouldn't be, that maybe it might not have been taken on board by them, and because that's important in this kind of, as I can say, exercise. And they seem to have embraced it, and we've had a few of the colleges, the Irish colleges, playing it with all the students and stuff, and doing versions of it. So, and that's only a week or so old. So that's a nice,
it is, and especially with the young people as well, because it is the native language, and it's another little thing that promotes it. Do you know what I mean? And its use, and I mean, we've seen it through on Kylie and Kuhn on the cinema. Yeah. We're seeing it with things like this here, and there's other artists that are producing, contemporary music, but at least in Irish or bilingual. And why not? It's brilliant. Every bit helps.
And there's an album, the Kjol albums, and the Seachtain na Gaeilge is sort of, the promotion of that all helped as well, because they would have done translations of songs in the past and had released albums and that to try and encourage people. And to be honest, full disclosure, I mean, I've struggled with Irish all my life, in the language.
Your roots, your roots are very deep.
Yes, in the Gaeltacht.
Deep into the heart of the Gaeltacht. Is this your first recording as Gaeilge?
No, it's not. Actually, I've done a few, but this is certainly the best, if I can put it, the best of the bunch for sure, and the best translation and whatnot, so but I have no excuse. And I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Gaeltacht when I was a kid, growing up around Downings and Garda Hark and places, Falcara and places like that. So but I've always just struggled with it, and I have to say, so anything to me that helps me get a little bit closer to the language is great. Brilliant. And if it encourages others, then that's fantastic. If it's a way of them, if it's a little door into it, that's brilliant. If they use this song for that purpose, I'm delighted.
Right, we're going to play out with it, but just general conversation. What else are you working on in the summer, gigs wise? What's going on?
I've had a busy summer, I have to say. I've been in Dubai, just back from Germany, and go to England this weekend, and then I have a couple of weeks off.
It's kind of disimproved there, like you started.
Yeah, Dubai.
Started in Dubai.
Abu Dhabi, Germany.
No, it's lovely. Don't get me wrong, but you went
Florida. I'm going to Florida.
Well, okay, good. We've an uptick.
Okay, but yeah, no, it's busy, and I have a project that I won't get into, but it's songs of Jack Tempchin, an American writer who wrote a lot of stuff for the Eagles over the year. Wow, I met him through myself and a friend, and he gave us a load of his old demos to do a project. We're nearly finished that with an album project. I'm really looking forward to that.
So that's personal.
Yeah, he wrote like Peaceful Easy Feeling feeling, probably one of the ones that people would know. And we just got to know Jack, and this is a lovely sort of full circle for me, because it's a song that I used to sing with my family as young. So that's a project that we're nearly finished. Myself and a friend here, we're doing kind of interpretations of his songs, and we're mixing it here in Donegal with Terry and Valley Studios at the minute. Just mixing. We've done a lot of recording ourselves, but that's nearly finished. And
how
then
is the mixing process in the whole process? Is that critical to? That's where you really get the sound that you want.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've recorded between myself, and I have a little setup, and my friend Rob has a setup. So between the two of us, we recorded a lot of it, and we brought a few other people in to play bits and pieces. But so then we take everything to Terry and we say, sort it out. So that's basically, make it sound nice and acceptable.
All right, and your nephew's with us.
Yes,
I didn't get your name on the way.
How you doing? My name is Jamie, but I perform under the name Echo.
Echo, brilliant stuff. Where are you based? Jamie, I'll call you Jamie for the interview.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I'm a Galway City man myself.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of music are you playing? Or are you in a band? Is solo? What's the story?
I do a bit of alternative, experimental rock. I do a mixture of things. You can hear it on like my Spotify and my YouTube. Last single I released was a mellow jazz single, and the next one I'm releasing is going to be a electronic drum and bass / rock tune. So
excellent. And your performance name is Echo
Hart.
Echo Hart, brilliant stuff.
Decided to keep the family name in there, so I can't let them down. I have to do them proud now.
Have you done any sort of electric pop versions of We Got the World Tonight, or are you?
Funny thing is, I get asked to play that song too often.
Of course you do. But
the
funny thing is, it's one of those songs that it's like it's cheesy, but it's coolly cheesy.
I still remember. That's one thing I've noticed. Like, I do a lot of pub gigs down in Galway.
Yeah.
And mates of mine would pop in, like, from, say, now secondary school that I haven't seen in years, and they'd come up and they'd say, hey, you do We've Got the World. And then I'd be like, yeah, getting gone. But this year now it's turned 20, so it's starting to do the rounds again on social media. So it's starting to get popular again.
Yeah.
And once I was doing a gig in a pub called Barnaholla, and a woman came up to me and says, do you know that song by Mickey Hart, We've Got the World? And I thought now somebody put her up to it, so I told her to go away.
Yeah.
And
she didn't know the connection.
She had no idea. So I could see that she didn't know. So then I had to then explain, I'm really sorry. I'm actually related to Mickey Joe, who sings that song. I thought you were.
Is he a cool uncle or an old fart?
Next question.
Hey,
depends what day.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I suppose when you've got his platform and his back catalogue, I suppose then we can nominally mess him. All right, brilliant stuff. All right, well done, Echo Hart. Check out on if you gig around Galway. If anyone, we've a big connection between here and Galway, of course. Check you out. It's great to have you up.
Oh, thanks very much.
Great stuff, and thanks for having a quick chat with us. And Mickey Joe will chat to you hopefully maybe when this new project you're working on comes to pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what happens nowadays? I don't know. What happens to music nowadays? Do you release the Irish version of it?
I don't know. When I figured it out,
do we know?
Well, we're up on iTunes and we were number one during the week.
So it's released then?
Yes, absolutely. It's out official. iTunes, Spotify,
do you know what I mean?
all those
hard
places.
To tell nowadays because you can do it yourself, or you can do it through a label or whatever.
We have it out through our own label, Swerve, and it's on iTunes and Spotify. And there's a lovely video doing the rounds as well. So check it all out and please share it. Please share it and enjoy it. And there's a place where you can download the lyrics and all that if you want to get the Irish version.
I can see this in a few school concerts. It's that kind of a thing. It's just got another set of legs.
That'll be lovely.
Yeah, and we'll even get Echo Hart to
do a version
with some sort of a funky version. It has to happen.
I mean, it's inevitable.
Even if you do it ironically or something, I don't know.
It's inevitable at this stage.
Or you could do. Here's a plan, right? Do you know how Miley Cyrus did the response track? Flowers.
Yeah,
you could do like a response track.
To
We've Got the World Tonight.
We've both got the world.
So we've both got the world.
No, so it's be a nod at the cap, but it's your own thing. All right, anyway, that's great fun. Thanks,
Greg,
very
don't be
much
giving
indeed.
him any more ideas, please.
I'm the ideas
He's bad
man.
enough.
I'm the ideas man. All right, Mickey Joe Hart, thanks very much. And Echo Hart, check him out as well. And we're going to hear the track now. And it's thanks to, by the way, no shame in saying this all started by chance on Today of Fame's Dermot and Dave show, and some of the best things happen accidentally.
And can I just say thanks to Cormac Butler, who produced this as well. I better not leave him out of that, please. You've done a great job.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
spare. A culture ni quivni. Todriet in san air. It's a summer heart, my story. It's big me good brock dele hey. It's linje on down and up. Bogshaw sailing. Der she kneel see gun look. Oh carry a shake yard. Do you know? A huge shot the killer. A goose la marhin. Secret line the fella. Verily kill him. There are two some of yard must store. It's big me go brock de la hair. It's Lunyan down and up. Fun shot is hailing. Does she new see gun love? I carry on shake hard. It's Lunyan down and up. Fun shot is hailing. Does she new see gun love? I carry on shake hard. Care the high, na realty son gala, can't fuck care the high, until to the throne, fair alone. This two buzz bar mo We've got the world tonight. Let's hold on together. And we've got a love that's right. So open your heart. Yeah, we've got the world tonight. Let's hold on together. And we've got a love that's right. So open your heart. Yeah, we've got the world tonight.
There you go. Sounds good, doesn't it? That is the new version of We've Got the World Tonight. Thanks to Mickey Joe Hart for calling in. All right. We're going to be chatting to Louise, continuing our conversation about endometriosis after this quick break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Hope is something we give to each other. Thanks to your donations, Pieta's 24-hour crisis helpline is able to receive over 100,000 calls and texts a year. Your support means that all of Pieta's vital services are free and available nationwide, which means that free suicide prevention therapy, delivered by qualified therapists, is always just a phone call away. To make a life-saving gift today, go to pieta.ie. Pieta, ending suicide, beginning hope.
Do your little ones have jam-packed schedules? Kit them out at Dunnes Stores with a uniform that can keep up. Get joggers that will survive PE on the muddy pitches from just €5, and sweatshirts that will breeze through messy art projects from just €3.75. Pick up a comfy knitted school jumper from just €3.75 and a 3-pack of playproof polos from just €5. Back to school at Dunnes Stores for little ones with big schedules. Shop in-store and online now. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Homeowners, it's time to unlock incredible savings on your energy bills. Efficient Renewables is here to reduce your energy consumption, say goodbye to skyrocketing costs and hello to renewable energy solutions. With no VAT on solar panels and the generous grants for both solar panels and heat pumps, see these innovative systems in action in our state-of-the-art showroom in Newton Cunningham today. Contact Efficient Renewables on 074 97 08320.
So we were speaking earlier to Anita, who recently enough was formally diagnosed with endometriosis and has gone through a procedure and is only 1 week through that and has a checkup again in 5 weeks. And we hope it gives her the relief that she, as I say, deserves with what she's been through. And the women's stories of endometriosis are varied and incredibly severe at times, and I think that's the situation with you, Louise. I really appreciate your patience in waiting just while I played that ad, and it's good to speak to you. How are you now, Louise?
I'm good. I suppose I'm 48 now, so I'm at the end of it. Well, I had a long journey. I developed endometriosis when I took my first period at 11, 12, around that. It was really bad pain, bleeding for weeks and weeks. I would have fainted with the pain. I can just remember the awful, just the pain of it all. But my doctors were giving me pain relief and whatever, and basically it was getting to the stage where I was thinking, these doctors think this is all in my head. I was going to a gynecologist and they put me on the pill, as that girl before had said as well. Didn't work. I bled through the pill, which shouldn't have happened. They gave me some sort of injections as well to stop my periods, but that didn't work. I also had cysts on my ovaries from time to time. And when I was 19, I went in with a cyst one night in really severe pain. And there was a new doctor in Galvin, and he did the operation, whatever. And I remember coming around in the morning, and he came in and he said, we removed the cyst, and he said, I've got news for you. And I said, okay. And he said, you've got endometriosis, which meant nothing to me. But I remember the relief of hearing, I've got something. I can remember that. I can remember like the tightness in my chest, thinking, I can now say, I have got, so this isn't all in my head.
Yeah.
So anyway, he explained all what it was then, and he said it did take a lot of sort of poking about behind the ovaries to find it. But when he did find it, he realised it had spread a lot because it took so long to be diagnosed. So for me, the important of this phone call today is for people to keep going to their GP and gynaecologist to get diagnosed early.
And I think too, we're talking really to, mums and dads here, because at age 11, if you would have got an early diagnosis, 11, 12, 13, the outcome would have been very different for you. So I mean,
absolutely. And even
with under 18s, we have to advocate for them, don't we, Louise?
We do. I was blessed with my family. My mum was unbelievable. Yeah. And never give up, never would have said to me, look, this is on your head, or my dad. None of the family did. But I had a GP who, I definitely would have queried that. There's no doubt about it. So when I got the diagnosis then, it was obviously the relief of having something. And then the next blow for me was, you're not going to be able to have children because your womb's covered in this stuff, and it's not going to happen. So at that time I was engaged to be married. Yeah. And I remember sitting with my partner and thinking, why would you want to get married to me now? Because we had planned with building a home. We were going to have children, of course. And I remember having this conversation with him. And he was like, oh, don't be silly, this nonsense sort of thing. But thankfully, he stood by me and he was brilliant too. And we got married, and that was grand. And then they said, no children. So I thought, well, I need to try. You need to give me a chance. And I did go in fertility treatment. Thankfully, with the help of God and the fertility treatment, I had a beautiful baby girl. And that was a miracle.
Wow. And
for me,
with the endometriosis being on your womb, was it the conception that was complicated, or was it you actually carrying your baby also problematic? You know what I mean? Were the difficulties through the pregnancy then, in terms of your womb being able to sustain this life?
Both were going to be a problem, they said. But it wasn't for me, actually, when I got pregnant, the normal pregnancy symptoms and that. But no, thankfully there was no problem carrying the child. I had no bleeding through it or anything. It was perfect pregnancy. and she was born, and it was brilliant. And then bang, come back again.
Oh, no.
Through the pregnancy, I had no pain.
Yeah, and just for that moment, you know, you had that conversation about never getting, probably not being able to, for you to have a child and then get pregnant. What was it like for the two of you when your baby was born then? I mean, it must have been surreal. Did it?
Unbelievable. I mean, it's 25 years ago now, but
Yeah.
I can remember it. I can remember that second where she was born, and I put in my arms like it was yesterday. And just the relief of having my child. I mean, I would have adopted, there's no question about it, or fostered or whatever. But just being told you can't, like it wasn't going to happen, and then to have this baby in your arms was just surreal.
Brilliant. But that, as you say, that joy never left. But in terms of your health, that break was short-lived, because you were just about to say then, Louise, you were hit again with endometriosis. Is that correct?
Yeah, hit again with it. Now, while I was breastfeeding, I didn't have any pain.
Mm-hmm.
But when that all stopped, and it came back with a vengeance, like it was really bad. And then I would have had a bit of bowel problems, which I hadn't had before. And they said again that was endometriosis. So it was a case of then, you know, go for your hysterectomy now, because they wanted me to do that actually before I had the child. You know, they were saying once they diagnosed me, you need a hysterectomy. But anyway, after the pregnancy and I had my baby, I says, right, I'll have a hysterectomy. So she was just a year and a bit, and I was at work one day and I collapsed with pain, and which wasn't unusual for me.
Yeah.
But it was really bad, and my GP, another GP came over and he said, I think you might have another cyst. So I went out in the Galvin to have a scan, and that was a real miracle. I was 3 months pregnant.
God.
With no treatment.
Wow. Okay.
And that was like, they couldn't believe it. The consultant rang, the doctor that was there rang for my consultant, who was to do my hysterectomy a few months later. And she came in, and actually before he scanned me, sorry, I'll go back to that, he actually said, you know what, you're in so much pain now, your consultant might just keep you in and do the hysterectomy.
Well, yeah.
That was when they thought it was cyst, and then they did the scan, and he couldn't believe it. She came in, and I remember she had tears in her eyes, like this was just a miracle.
And did that pregnancy continue? It's part. So you had two children.
I had two beautiful girls. Yeah, pregnancy continued again.
A remarkable story, both incredibly special, but baby number two, a true miracle.
Yeah,
defying all the odds.
And even up to that 3 months, I had been bleeding, Greg. You know, I was still bleeding. So
it was the last thing on your radar that you possibly could be pregnant. Okay. So then,
to be honest, I was looking forward to have the hysterectomy at that stage, just so I could take my girl swimming and do all the things that normal mummies were doing. Yeah. But anyway, I had the second girl, brilliant, perfect pregnancy, and again everything was great, and she was born perfect. And then when she was 9 months old, I did have my hysterectomy. And now when I had that, within 6 weeks, not even 6 weeks maybe, the pain had just eased. There was no bleeding, and because I could have bled for 3 weeks out of the month, you know, it was really severe. So then after hysterectomy, it was like a miracle for me. I got my life back.
Freedom to do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
You know, not shackled by this condition. Okay, but that, I mean, now that doesn't mean you're completely free of endometriosis, does it? But your life has been much improved after the hysterectomy. Is that fair to say?
Oh, without a doubt, like 95%. I do have a bit in my bowel, but it doesn't flare up very often, thankfully. So I'm nothing to complain about at all there. But really, the reason I just messaged on was because to give girls hope if they think, you know, because there's a lot of them will be told they won't have children.
Yeah.
Like I was, and just to make, you know, to let them know there's always hope.
And also to make sure if people have the symptoms that we're talking of, and it doesn't matter whether they're 11 or 21 or 31 or whenever they arrive at this, to make sure that it's double, triple, quadruple checked that it is not endometriosis, because as you say, the earlier you get it too, obviously the better the outcome too, and the less of it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I know they put them in the pill and they do all these different things, but sometimes the laparoscopy, I know it's a minor surgery. It's not very nice for a year or so for a wee while, but it's very important to have that done, because that's the only thing can show the endometriosis.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how many scans you have or anything, will not show that up.
Yeah, and do you have to any ongoing sort of, invasive treatment, or do you just live with the level that you have on your bowel now and hope the flare-ups are few and far between?
Yeah, no, I just live with that now. Now, unfortunately, 20 years after that, which I do think connected, which is 10 years, 11 years ago, I developed chronic ME.
Right.
Now, I don't know, maybe looking back, a lot of doctors would say it could be from all the trauma you had for that, for them years, your early years, you know. But I'm okay now again, I'm through that. But
that in itself is, and we were talking about that relatively recently as well, that in itself is one thing in a lifetime, let alone the two things you've had to endure. Okay, well, listen, thanks for the message of get it checked, double check, follow through, but also that message of hope too.
Absolutely.
The girls are big now.
They are. I have one married now and another one at university, and all's great, thank God for them. And it all worked out well for me in the end, so there is hope no matter what.
And I think it's actually even a lovely story going back to that conversation you had with your partner, about the realities of life and it following through, through together and stuff. So
I was blessed. I definitely was blessed.
It's a story with many highs and many lows, and
because you have to remember it's very hard for the family. They're watching you in pain, so it's tough for them too.
Helpless. And also, too, your diagnosis, I mean, we know a bit about endometriosis now. We can Google it, we can search it. You didn't have that. You didn't have that. So this was a word
I got a leaflet.
What does that mean?
He gave me, the doctor got me a leaflet, and he explained a bit, and I was very good. And to be fair, if that doctor hadn't been on that night, because I'd been on before with cysts, and they just removed the cyst. But he had a good look around behind the ovary and then saw it attaching to the bowel and stuff, so I was very, very lucky that night.
Yeah, okay. Louise, thanks so much, and I'm glad to hear things are okay and went well for you. So, all right, take care. That's Louise there. Thanks so much, Louise. Again, hopefully that's been informative and might help someone out there.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Come along to the Glencolumkill Agricultural Show on Sunday the 6th of August, featuring cattle, sheep, horses, poultry and all marquee classes. A great family day with children's fun and live music. Entries open on glencolumkillagriculturalshow.ie or visit our Facebook page.
Did you have a nice time, love? We went for a picnic. Niamh pinched my sunglasses, the ones you got me. Freya and Connor had a massive fight. I dived for the frisbee, grazed my knee. Nice one, making me take plasters, Mum. Niamh's hay fever flared up, had to buy antihistamines. It started lashing down, but hello, waterproof mascara. And I'm convinced there's Sultan in my hair. Please tell me you got dry shampoo. Best day ever.
Incredible offers all summer long. With you for our perfectly imperfect summer. Boots, with you for life.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Breedon's Furniture, Cooley Maville. With over 40 years of experience in furniture and floor coverings, they've got Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining, flooring, slide robes and occasional furniture. Great prices and large selection now available at Breedon's Home Furnitures, Cooley Maville.
Unfortunately, there's another video doing the rounds on social media again of another violent interaction between people. As I say, these are relatively isolated incidents. I'm sure not reflective of the safety necessarily of Letterkenny, but it is a cause for concern. It's something we're going to speak about on the programme tomorrow, and just inviting your views now on this type of activity. What we're seeing, there's scuffles. If you drink or go out, sorry, not drink. You don't have to drink, but if you go out certain times of the evening, you will see altercations, pushing and shoving and what have you. But these daylight interactions between people, extreme violence, weapons being used, people kicked on the ground, heads being stomped on. This is all. I couldn't show the video that was forwarded to us because it's too violent and too graphic. I'd have no appetite to show it either, nor look at it, but obviously I have to be across these things. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Is there something that needs to be done or action that needs to be taken? As I say, this is not to sort of try and be negative, but I do know there have been meetings between An Garda Síochána and the Chamber, I believe it is the Chamber, to talk about policing and what have you. So it's a conversation that we need to have in a responsible way, but also the one which I hope we can have tomorrow to see what's going on. Is it isolated? Is it something that needs particular attention? Is it something that needs a particular policing response? If you want to get involved in that conversation now, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Greg, I was misdiagnosed with IBS and had 2 years of intermittent pain. After pushing back, eventually a CT scan helped diagnose the problem, resulting in major surgery. Trust your gut instinct, pardon the pun, they say, and push for additional diagnostics. Indeed, and many people do, but then again, you see, many people don't. It kind of sometimes can depend on the personality. Hi, I just want to say I had the pleasure of caring for Gareth Friel in JCM and loved him to bits. He certainly was something else. Sincere sympathy on the family. Huge loss last year. And that anniversary mass coming up a week on Friday, as I mentioned, at 7 p.m. in the evening. But they're focused at the time. I mean, they're working through the grief, but on getting this equipment for the play park, which I think is lovely in any circumstances, but particularly meaningful, I think, because it's in Gareth's name. Thank you, everyone who listened to the show, and those of you who choose to watch it, and those of you who took part in it, text in. But there's many more of you that don't, and we love you equally. We're going to be back with you tomorrow morning at 9, of course. We'll kick off with the Friday panel. We'll have the team back together, Michael and Fionnuala, for That's Entertainment, and there's loads of other stuff as well. So that's tomorrow morning from 9, but still loads for you here on Highland Radio throughout this Thursday, and next it is